At a shot of the Great Wall of Hockey, as we like to call it, the feeds from the other 7 series around the National Hockey League coming in here to ESPN. And as time permits and circumstances warrant, we will be going to other games live. And also between periods, instead of the usual interviews, we will be devoting our between periods coverage strictly on highlights of the other 7 series ongoing tonight, and also switch live whenever possible to those series to bring you right up to date on what is going on in the other 7 series on the road to the Stanley Cup, which begins tonight. The Washington Capitals and New York Islanders have met 7 times this season. Washington won the season series 4-3, but the New York Islanders, as Mike Lang and Bill Clement mentioned, have defeated the Washington Capitals and eliminated them in each of the last 3 Stanley Cup playoff series the last 3 years. In the first round of all the 8 series is the best 3 out of 5. Last year, the New York Islanders lost the first 2 games to the Washington Capitals before coming back to win the next 3 and win the series. So the Washington Capitals and New York Islanders are just about set to drop the puck at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. Jim Kelly standing by along with Mike Lang and company to bring you Game 1 of 35 games on the road to the Cup right here on ESPN.
The referee tonight will be Ron Hogarth, the 2 linesmen John D'Amico and Dan Shackby, as we prepare for Game 1 of this best-of-5 series. Bill Clement. There's a look at the goaltenders for tonight's contest. Kelly Rudy for the Islanders and Pete Peters for the Washington Capitals.
You know that those guys will have their work cut out for them, but Pete Peters, a lot of people speculate that when he was traded to the Washington Capitals, that the Capitals had every intention of starting him in the playoffs even before he arrived. But Al Jensen's ready to back up, had a tremendous year. So in goal, both of these teams, I think, are pretty equal.
Brian Trottier will start at center with Richard Crom and Mike Bossy for the Islanders against Bobby Goldline with Gaetan Duchesne and Dave Christian. Dennis Potvin and Ken Morrow paired defensively. The Islanders decked out in the traveling dark blue. And the Islanders, well, they stack it up right in front of the Capitals bench. So looking at this game, well, this is a look at Rod Langway. Well, there's some factors in here going with these 2 teams. And let's take a look at Bill Clement, the way it sets up in this series.
Okay, Michael, first of all, I want to point out these are my factors. The injuries, obviously, the advantage goes to the Islanders because they're healthy. There are a bunch of others that we'll try and get to later. Goaltending, as I mentioned at the top of the show, I think are even, but there's some other factors we'll touch on in a while.
We'll take a look at that a little bit later in the period. Bob Gould of the Capitals swings it into the Islander zone. It goes right behind the cage, and Dennis Potvin around for Richard Crom. Crom now moves up to center, and Mike Bossy blasting one, and that was Peters making that save. He struggled a bit on that one. On a good hard shot by Bossy. Dave Christian. Christian sends it back to the Islander line, and this is Ken Morrow. That one hit Trottier in the helmet, bouncing right to Larry Murphy. What a good, strong year to Christian right wing. Potvin, he has a half a step on him, pulls up in the near corner. To Murphy. He shoots one. That one off a leg. Scott Stevens will come in deep. Stevens moving in behind. Goaltender Rudy to Christian. Right in front. He got it go, and Rudy got a piece of that off his stick. Gaetan Duchesne with the puck. Islanders now trying to get the puck out of their own zone. The good pressure by the Capitals, and it's finally cleared.
That's going to be a key matchup. The Capitals are going to have their hands full of Trottier and Bossy. If they can keep them off the scoreboard, that's going to be a big factor in this series. So watch for Gaetan Duchesne against Mike Bossy. That's the key matchup in this series.
Paul Boudelier of New York. Ahead now to Dwayne Sutter, going to Bob Bourne, the veteran. Played on all 4 Cup Stanley, 4 Cup-winning teams the Islanders had. Jam up in the Capital zone. Battle for the puck. Howard has lost his stick for the Capitals. And they'll get a face-off right in the Capital zone to the right of goaltender Pete Peters. Peters had played the last 4 games for the Capitals during the regular season. There was some speculation that Al Jensen might be the man they'd want to go with, but Peters has drawn the starting assignment, and maybe a little kind of a change, too, in the Islander net because Kelly Rudy's going instead of Billy Smith.
Well, I'll tell you what, Mike, when you get down to the playoffs, there's so much psychological warfare that goes on. Now, we were told that Carpenter and Gartner would probably not be playing. They, in fact, are playing. As we take a look at this replay on super slow-mo, which is a real luxury when you're watching a hockey game, watch this blast from Bossy, probably trying to catch Peters sleeping in that first shot of the game, and just about, at least had him struggling with it. That super slow-mo is nice. We're going to try and get back to that as much as we can tonight.
And the face-off. Taken by Dwayne Sutter. He tries to beat Langway on the play. Can't do that. Bob Carpenter is out here playing with that hyper-extended knee. Giving it a go. We saw him prior to the game, Bill Clement, and he was hobbling pretty good. Now in the near corner, Greg Adams with a heavy check on Boudelier. Sends him flying. Bob Bourne corrals the puck, though. Swinging out to Dwayne Sutter. Craig Smith and Scott Stevens back, and this is Bob Bourne in an offside play. Here in Landover, Maryland, this opening game, the Islanders nothing, the Capitals nothing.
Feels so good, coming down, down. Feels so good on the Thursday down. 7-Up splashing on the fun, pouring good and clear on everyone. 7-Up feels so good, so good, 7-Up.
Here's a look at the slow-mo again as Greg Adams really hammered Paul Boudelier.
Watch for Greg Adams to be dishing that body all over the place. He finished with a lot of penalty minutes and is really a going concern as far as the physical game is concerned for the Capitals.
Both Bob Carpenter with the Capitals and Mike Gardner around here. Gardner coming off knee surgery, arthroscopy surgery, March 28th. And David Jensen's the left winger in this line. Greg Smith of the Capitals. He's paired with Scott Stevens. Smith, of course, acquired from Detroit just before the trading deadline on March 10th. Rudy will handle the puck and go to Steve Conroy. He was a late season addition to the Islanders squad. Greg Gilbert. And he got around his man Smith down the left side, but he fell down. He put it in front. A big jam up in front of the net as LaFontaine ran over Peters. But the Capitals control. They lose it in front, but LaFontaine can't get the shot on. Well, the Islanders trying to put some good pressure on there. The Capitals almost with a couple of deadly giveaways. Flatley steals for New York, but he can't find Trottier in front. Now he's got him. Trottier moves in a backhander, and Peters got his stick on that shot by Brian Trottier. And it's cleared by Dave Jensen.
Some big help there by Mike Gardner. He came back to catch Trottier and cut off the middle of the ice so that Trottier had to move the puck to his backhand. Really helped Pete Peters out, and they're really going to have to come back. This is the type of game in the playoffs where everything counts. You can't take a lazy step.
Richard Crum broke the play up, but the Capitals again steer it up deep into the Islanders' zone. Randy Boyd. Boyd challenged by Pedersen. But it comes to right winger Mike Bossy. Bossy, Trottier, and Crum, the unit on. Here's Dennis Potvin. Potvin played it into the zone. The fans booing him on every shift because they feel he was the man responsible for taking Gustafson out of the lineup with a hip check in the last game these two teams played in the regular season. Put him out with a broken leg. Larry Murphy. That was a very hard-fought game here in Washington, won by the Islanders 4-3. And we are scoreless here in this first period. A lot of action going around the National Hockey League tonight. Opening round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll have a lot for you. Boudelier. And Morrow touches the puck, and we have an icing call. Now the tempers heat up.
Greg Adams again. He was the guy in there that draped Morrow into the boards. You think the Washington team isn't capable of dishing it out, Mike. They're 6 feet tall. They average 6 feet in height, and they're 196 pounds. And there's a lot of that beef being thrown around in the corner right now. Of course, the Islanders average 190 pounds and are 6 feet on the average. So there's
the gloves are coming off here now. The gloves starting to come off, and now somebody has been dumped to the ice.
I think that was Adams. No, there's Adams there. Somebody with a 2.
Brett Sutter has one of the Capitals down. Not many punches being thrown right now. And with the score, the Islanders nothing, the Capitals nothing. We'll return.
The Serendipity Singers for Best Western.
You can call Best Western any day or night.
We'll get you a room that will be just right.
Round the world, lodging for you when you want Best Western. Here's all you do.
Call 1-800-528. 1, 2, 3, 4. Best Western. 1-800-528. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, penalty time will be dished out here.
Looks like a couple to each team, Mike. Looks like Gould and Adams in there for Washington, along with Boudelier for the Islanders.
Now, Boudelier went into the penalty box, but he came back out. I think Dwayne Sutter will be set in.
Watch Adams crush Morrow here. Now, Morrow was prepared for it, unlike the first hit that Adams dished out to one of the Islanders. But there's Boudelier coming in to help out, and Adams says, to heck with this. You want a piece of me, you can have one. Gave a sharp left right to Boutilier's chin, and then everything piled up in there. Here are the penalties now.
Morrow and Brent Sutter will go in for the Islanders. And roughing calls to each of those two men. And my guess is the same will be issued to Gould and Adam.
Number 23, Bob Gould, 2 minutes for roughing.
And we guessed right.
You got to figure that the referee, Mr. Hogarth, will be keeping a close eye on what happens tonight, not to let things get out of hand. Things are so prone to sparking in the playoffs. Take a look at Al Arbor.
53 years old now. And he has more service than any coach in the National Hockey League, longevity-wise. He's in his 13th season.
Yeah, he's had a great year coaching, too. And, you know, a lot of the pressure's been taken off of him by Brian Kilray, the assistant coach. So I think Al's enjoying it quite a bit, even after a number of years in the league.
There was some speculation that he would retire prior to the start of this year. I wonder if he is thinking about it.
Oh, I don't think so. It looks like he's having a good time.
Neither club will lose anybody on the ice. They'll go with a full complement of players. The coincidental minor penalties. Scoreless still in the first period. Game 1 of this best-of-5 playoff series. The right to move on and meet either Philadelphia or the New York Rangers in the Patrick Division Final. That'll be a 7-game set. Here's a heavy check on Gilbert by Lou Franceschetti as the puck goes into the Capitals net area, smothered by Peters. Peters finished the... All right, we've got a report out of Quebec, and let's join Tom Mees right now.
Mike, in Quebec City, the Nordiques on the power play. Behind the net, Michel Goulet, number 16. Beautiful centering pass to Anton Stastny. He scores. 1-0 Nordiques over Hartford in the first period.
Well, the Hartford Whalers trying to be the Cinderella team, really, in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Had to battle all the way to get there.
Oh, what a finish they had. Yeah. The Whalers they went on such a poor stretch when Ron Francis was injured, their leader, their captain, and really got it together going down the stretch. I'm really happy to see them make the playoffs. It's been a long spell since 1980 since the Whalers made the playoffs.
Trottier out here with Richard Crom and Mike Fosse. Of course, Richard Crom coming with Steve Conroy from Calgary in exchange for John Zanelli.
Yeah,
boy, it seems strange not to have the name John Zanelli in an Islander lineup, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. And that was the big trade that only trade that the Islanders made all year, but it's really one that Bill Torrey and personally I think has really helped the Islanders.
Langway forced to handle the faceoff. Trottier won it. It comes right point to Boyd, and his shot denied by Peters. Now Christian lofted it out. Gaetan Duchesne, one of the better checking forwards in the NHL. He puts the body into Boyd. Potvin finding Crom, and look out, Bossy might have a step here. He's slowed down a bit by Langway, and Langway cut him off at the pass. Puck tied up in the far boards, and they'll hold it there. You had an interesting thought we talked prior to the game. Langway's back on defense there with Bossy coming down. They have Duchesne working as a forward against him. But two pretty good players in a defensive role working.
Well, exactly. You know, they can't match Gaetan Duchesne against Mike Bossy all night long because that will mean their checking line is on the ice. All Al Arbor has to do is put the Trottier line on the ice every second shift, and that means Washington's going with the guys that play defensively all night. The second best thing is that they have Rod Langway out there on the left defense so that when Bossy comes down the ice, if Duchesne's not there, he at least has to beat Langway. And Langway's so big, he's the biggest capital, and so strong and so good defensively that they'll try and match either Langway or Duchesne against Bossy any chance they can get.
Alan Hallworth out here. Went from the right wing to center and really had a big season, 34 goals, and now a big heavy check on the near side by Gillies on Lachlan. The hitting's been very heavy here in this first period.
Boy, you know what that was by Gillies? He took a swing at the puck and missed it by 3 feet in order to take a baseball swing and actually hit Lachlan on the play. Let's go down to Jim Kelly now.
All right, gentlemen, ESPN continues the road to the Stanley Cup. Of course, tomorrow will be in the Met Center, Bloomington, Minnesota. The North Stars playing host to the St. Louis Blues. And then Game 3 live Saturday at 8 o'clock and Sunday at 7 o'clock. We don't know where those games will be. Probably tomorrow night, midway through the third period, we'll make an announcement and tell you where we'll be for Games 3 and 4. Opening round of the Stanley Cup, we'll take you right through the Stanley Cup Finals. All game live, all games right here on ESPN. Bill Clement, Bill Torrey, the general manager of the New York Islanders, and Coach Al Arbor said this morning at practice that the Capitals goaltender, Pete Peters, is a position goaltender. What does that mean, and what do the Islanders have to do to take him out of that position?
Well, I think what he's talking about as far as the advantage to the Islanders is that Pete Peters isn't all that agile. He really has to play positional hockey because he can't get from A to B very quickly. What they're going to try and do is exploit his weakness, make him handle the puck behind the net, and actually move the puck back and forth in front of him, especially on the power plays, to force him to go back and forth in his crease.
We are scoreless here in the first period. And the puck lofted ahead. Last year in the playoff series, the Capitals won the first 2 games. here on home ice, and lost the next two and lost the final one. We're right here in this building. Conroy, he let one go, and that missed the cage. Franciscetti picks it up for the Capitals, and Gilly intercepts his pass and puts it right back to the Capitals' goal. Well, the Capitals came out pretty strong. Both clubs did, as a matter of fact, and they've used the body. Here, the passing game now broken up at center by Boyd.
Well, we're not surprised by that grinding style, are we, Mike? This Patrick division is big and tough. That's one of the reasons the Capitals traded to get John Barrett and Greg Smith, two very big, strong defensive defensemen, to try and compete with this tough Patrick division. The Islanders, the Flyers, they're all big and strong.
Every team now in the division plays almost exactly the same way, and they'll stop the play around that net. The New York Rangers are at home against Philadelphia, or on the road in Philadelphia. Tom Mees has a report.
Mike at the Spectrum, Mike Ridley, who's had a great rookie year for the Rangers, scores on the power play in the slot. He made it 1-0. Rich Sutter has just answered for the Flyers. It's 1-1 at the Spectrum. Mike?
Well, the Rangers had to fight to the very end to get in the playoffs ahead of the Pittsburgh Penguins. But they're tied 1-1 in the first period.
Nice prize that they drew, too, the Philadelphia Flyers in the opening round. And that's the 14th place team, the Rangers, that the Capitals would have drawn had they actually finished ahead of the Flyers. And to give you an indication of what they're up against, the first place team, Edmonton Oilers, are playing the 18th team in the National Hockey League. And the second place Flyers are playing the Rangers. That's a 12th position differential in that difference. So,
interesting matchup right now, Bill, with Carpenter's line coming out here with Christian and Duchesne. At from center, Larry Murphy puts it there. Ken Morrow, some juggling going on by Brian Murray, who did that late in the season.
Well, he's going to try and keep Al Arbor's true soft balance all night long. You know, it's nice to go with set lines, but Brian Murray has the last chance here in Washington because it's a home game, so you can watch for him playing some psychological games with the Islanders even during the game.
Well, with Trottier and Bossy, and of course they've been like bread and butter in their NHL career, working together. Trottier leads it for Boudelier. Still scoreless. Just over 7 minutes gone in period number 1. Mike Lang along with Bill Clement here at the Capitol Center. Murphy can't find Christian. Christian ended up as a leading scorer in this team with 83 points and 41 goals. And play is going to be called back here. Here in Landover, Maryland. The Islanders nothing. The Capitals nothing.
Just thought I'd like to tell you.
Miss Jones! Oh, no, Miss Jones, 25 in red.
Because work is tough enough, there's Canon's NP3525 dual color copier. It lets you change colors.
Not the grapes in red, just the apples.
And it's the only copier that copies in 2 colors at the same time with just a touch.
Oh, forget the grapes. Just give me more apples.
Canon's dual color copier with a singular difference. For information, call toll-free 1-800-OK-CANON.
No score in our game from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. Let's switch to the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Rangers and Flyers are tied at 1 midway through the first period.
Ridley takes
Let's
it
go
off
to
the board,
Sam Rosen and
gives it
Phil
to LaRouche.
Esposito.
Around it goes. Nobody on the near side. Propp will get to the puck. Clears it out. Patrick with Poulin right on him. Poulin with a good hit. Rocks the glass. Poulin and Patrick do some shoving. They're both going to go. Ron Wicks is showing both teams right here that he's going to keep control of the game.
Well, he's got to remember, though, that he's got to let the players play. Let's take a look at it. Here's a great hit by Poulin. Bam, he gives Patrick a good hit. Now they're looking for the puck. And Patrick and Poulin push at each other. That was really not too much wrong with that one.
So the Rangers and Flyers are tied at 1 in Philadelphia. Let's return to the Capitol Center, Landover, Maryland. Mike Lang, Bill Clement, the Islanders and the Capitals, no score.
All right, we are back live here at the Capitol Center. An offside call against the New York Islanders. We have access to the shot clock here, trying to look and find out. The Islanders are out shooting the Capitals 4-1 on the early going. Are the butterflies gone, Bill? I know. I mean, the Islanders have been there so many times. The Capitals now in their 4th season making the playoffs. But the butterflies are there to start it. But I think they look like they're starting to move away.
So they're starting to move away. But Bobby Carpenter just made a poor pass when we were away at the Rangers game. Something that's not characteristic of him. So you can tell he's a little tight. I'll tell you one thing that Washington is doing, Mike. They're following through on their hits. The Islanders had better be prepared after they pass the puck to keep their heads up because they're going to be lying flat on their backs. A lot of body contact out there by the Capitals.
Brett Sutter winds it around for Steve Conroy. Conroy hit by Alan Hallward. Well, this has been a Capitals trademark all year long in using the body and playing the game as they are here in the first period. Here's a shot by Hallward. Oh, Rudy made a as he stuffed Hallworth from between the circles. Oh, I thought the play might have been offside at the blue line, but kept in, and Hallworth turned, and he can fire.
Well, it looked close, and that's Kelly Rudy's biggest asset, that lightning-quick left hand of his. Johnny on the spot. There he is. He looks pretty cool now, but what a save that was. Second best goals against average in the National Hockey League, 3.21. He's second or third, Mike.
Well, that puck was onside. He kept it in nicely to Hatcher.
He brought it down and teed it up real nice, too. And there's Rudy just getting his glove out there in time. But that was a point-blank shot. There was an Islander there just to bother Lachlan as he was getting, or Haworth as he was getting it away. And what a season Haworth has had after being moved to center. You know, he was a right winger. Now, all of a sudden, this season moves to center. Bang, his best season in the NHL.
Yeah, by Rudy. 24-year-old
Rudy had the
goal.
third best goals against, didn't he, in the National Hockey League?
Well, the Islanders came on so strong in the tail end of the season. They were in the middle of the pack for a long time, and they finished fifth overall, as you mentioned, but especially everything kind of came together. Their power play improved, their penalty killing improved, and they kind of got themselves geared up, and Al Arbor's a magician at doing that.
Nice timing, huh?
Yep. Here's Haworth. He centers. In front is Adams. Trying to avoid a check by Thomas Johnson. And it is controlled now by Dwayne Sutter. And the 19-year-old rookie Kevin Hatcher goes back to play the puck. But knocking it out as Johnson held it in. That shot and stopped right off Peter's skate. And the rebound fortunately comes to John Barrett. Barrett winds it up. He'll come in, and Conroy stands him up nicely. Haworth follows on, but it'll be Rudy getting to the puck. Lockman sets himself up at the right point to try and take a pass, but he'll not be able to do that as it's lifted back to center circle. Well, we're almost halfway home in this first period. Neither club able to get on the board. Johnson skating very smoothly to center ice. And Peters will leave it for the Secretary of Defense here in Washington, Rod Langway. Great nickname for Langway.
Sure is.
Gillies. And the hitting continues. Steve Leach is hit by Boudelier. They're getting the shoulders. They're good, clean checks here in this first period, too. I mean, solid checks.
Well, nobody wants to get into penalty trouble. That's the last thing anybody needs early in a series.
Murphy, right side to Leach, and he lets one go. And the rookie hit the side of the net. Steve Leach out of the University of New Hampshire comes right side. Murphy at the blue line could not hold it in. We have an offside call.
You mentioned Rod Langway's nickname. Clark Gillies is on the ice. His nickname is McGilla, and for a real good reason, too. All you have to do is run up against him one time on the ice, and you'll realize how strong he is. Gillies' first year in the league, I think I'd been in the league for 4 years, and Gillies came out on the wing, and I was out against him, and I looked at him and said, look, this guy is so big that he can't skate. Obviously, he can't skate because he's so big. I started skating in a race to the puck with him, and he kept edging up and up and up. And finally, we made contact with one another going into the corner, and I said, wait a minute, something is happening to these people that are coming into the league. Gillies is 6'3", 210, 215 pounds, and can skate with the little guys. So that's what the game has turned into, really, over the last 10 years.
When Gillies first came up, they nicknamed him Jethro after the Beverly Hillbillies, too.
Yeah, Jethro
Max
McGilla.
Baer Jr., who was in that show. Of course, his daddy was a big champion in the heavyweight division. Here's Christian now, left side. He'll move in. Stop, nice play, going to Duchesne, he scores! The Capitals take the lead, 1-0.
What a play by Dave Christian. He waited, had Gaetan Duchesne watch his shot. Rudy will get a piece of it right up into the top of the net. Now that's an outstanding playoff play by Dave Christian. He held on to it. He saw Duchesne going for the net. Look at him wait for everybody to go by, except Gaetan Duchesne, who was smart enough to stop right there. Now Rudy's being bothered by Bobby Gould. Obviously the referee ruled that Gould was pushed into the net by Ken Morrow. And there is an elated Gaetan Duchesne, and it's no wonder why. The guy's job is to check Mike Bossy. Any goal he gets is a large bonus, Mike. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, there isn't any question about it. He's been one of the more underrated players, I think, in the National Hockey League.
Number 23.
Well, it looked to me like he didn't get real good wood to that shot, too, but he just kind of got it off his stick, wasn't able to really get a solid shot, but it went off the glove.
Well, I think he knew he had to get it away fast, so you sacrificed the speed on the shot to get it away quickly, and as it turned out, that was all he needed. He could have waited, teed it up. By that time, Rudy's so quick in his feet, he could have been standing back there in the hole. So,
well, Dave Christian, too, has become such a patient player, and he played with the Winnipeg Jets, of course, coming to the Capitals in exchange for a first-round draft choice.
Great acquisition.
And this team has really made some great trades, really, to build themselves. They only have 8 players right now in the lineup that were drafted.
Yeah, David Poile as a rookie general manager a couple of years ago, took the Montreal Canadiens and raked them over the coals with the big trade that brought Langley here. And since then, he's made a number of them. We got a few notes here on them. When we get a chance, we'll get to them.
So the Capitals under Duchesne goal have the early lead. And Randy Boyd trying to take Christian out of the action. He does. Back comes Mike Bossy. Bossy moving now to the near corner. Larry Murphy knocking down Richard Crom. Murphy struggles a bit. Frontier, they got hit in the eye with a stick. Frontier or the mouth. And play is stopped. We'll be back to check on Frontier. The score here. Washington 1. The Islanders nothing.
In Alamance County, North Carolina, Honda lawnmowers are assembled from the wheels up. Beginning with the Honda overhead valve engine, each precision part is fitted and assembled to exacting tolerances. Then, the final critical step that determines whether a machine will meet the Honda standard. The Clara Johnson test. If Clara pulls and it starts, it's a Honda.
Ship it.
The Honda lawnmower. It's easy to start, or else.
There's the scene at the Capitol Center, Landover, Maryland. The Washington Capitals have taken a 1-0 lead over the New York Islanders on that goal by Gaetan Duchesne. Now let's switch up to the Forum in Montreal. The Boston Bruins and the Montreal Canadiens. Adams Division semifinal. No score here. Let's check in with Dick Urban and Harry Neal.
Not too many giving the Rangers much hope in that series. Dave Facine. He lets a shot go. Roy to save. Facine, the rookie out of Prince Albert, playing in his first playoff game.
Dave Facine is going to be a pretty good goal scorer in this league. The knock on him here is, and was in junior, that he doesn't come to play every night. Maybe that big B, which has changed a few guys' attitude, will change him. It seems to me that Boston has a scouting report on Patrick Roy to fire that puck from the blue line, and he may stop it, but there might be some rebounds. And he's looked shakier on that shot from 60 feet than he has from 6.
His last game against Buffalo Saturday night, 2 goals on him, both scored from well out. One from the outer rim of the circle by Gilbert Perreault, and the other one from the blue line area. Just a shot that was drilled and went in the net.
So there is no score at the Forum in Montreal. We'll return to that game later. Now let's go back to our primary game tonight. Islanders trailing the Capitals 1-0. Here's Mike Lang. Mike?
Thank you, Tom. And still 1-0 the Capitals lead, but they've been smoking like bees around a hive. I'll tell you, in the last minute and a half, as we were away, they've really come on strong here, trying to add another. Here's Adams, hit by Bob Bourne of New York. Howard centers. It went right by Auckland, and it comes all the way to the center circle.
Boy, Kelly Rudy had to come up with a couple of saves while we were gone. He's hot, definitely. He's been beaten once, but he's ready to play some hockey tonight. Made 2 brilliant saves while we were away.
Now Laughlin. Lost it to Bossy. Look out here, and he got the go, and Peters never saw that one at all.
I don't think he saw a bit of it. If that had been on the net, that would have been in.
That would have gone through the net, the way he fired that one. Here to center is Duchesne. That was the only goal of the game. Hit mainly by Boudelier. And a good clean check that was.
It was a clean check. Boudelier not knowing to dish the body out that much, but boy, when the playoffs start, you can look to guys that don't usually play that tough to start.
To the left of Peters on the outside, and Carpenter throws that one away. The Capitals' 5th in penalty killing in the NHL in the regular season. The Islanders 10th on the power play. Bossy can't hold on to it. He's their sharpshooter in the power play. Bossy had 21 power play goals. Hot man every time he touches the puck. Booed here by the crowd in Washington. It goes to Crom. Crom down that right side. Stolen by Duchesne. And Duchesne bangs it away.
Boy, in talking to the Caps coaches this morning, they said they're going to kill penalties against the Islanders very aggressively. They really do acknowledge how talented the Islanders are offensively. So if they can actually negate that finesse by hurrying them, they're going to do that. And that's one of the reasons why they're keeping them off balance right now. Great forechecking, and even in their own end, they're pressing them.
Bob Bourne push it up now to Brent Sutter. But again, the Islanders lose possession. And we're down to 47 seconds to go. And the penalty to Scott Stevens. Back on the left side, it'll be Brent Sutter winding the puck around. Bossy will go after it. Picked up now, center point, Boudelier, and he'll shoot one. Peters got a piece of that one. It was headed off the net, I think. Along the near wing, Boudelier again. Put it in front. Good play by Barrett to stop the play in front of the goal. And Hallworth shorthanded. Just dumps it back to the red line. 16 seconds to go in the Stevens penalty. Capitals Short-handed, they have the lead, 1-0. Brett Sutter. Softly sends it to the net. Peters takes no chance at all and just covers it up right there. All right, we've got a report from Philadelphia. Let's go to Tom Mees.
Thank you, Mike. The goals are coming in bunches at the Spectrum. Just moments ago on a shorthanded situation, watch Bobby Brook of the New York Rangers chase a loose puck. He's in on Bob Froese. He'll take the wrist shot and score, but Dave Poulin has just tied it up at 2 on a power play goal, 2-2 in Philly.
Oh. Well, 2-2 in Philadelphia. That's a Patrick Division battle. Patrick Division team, I think we mentioned earlier, has gone to the Stanley Cup Finals the last 6 years. The Islanders, of course, winning the Cup 4 years straight. Went to it for a 5th try, lost to Edmonton, and then Philadelphia last year. Very strong division.
Very strong. Tough division for teams like the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New Jersey Devils. That's one of the reasons the Penguins are trying to get the heck out of the Patrick Division and over to the Norris Division.
Well, actually, though, the fans had a vote there, and the management decided not to do that.
Oh, did they?
Not to make enough attempt to go out of the division. I mean, they've yielded to the fans' response, and they will not try and get out of the Patrick Division. At least that's the latest we've been told. Pat LaFontaine out here. Well, LaFontaine, a very clever playmaker. And there's a look at Bob Carpenter. We saw him, as we said before, and he was really hobbling. You put that uniform on and you call it the Stanley Cup playoffs.
It's called Stanley Cup pain threshold. It really goes up when you make the playoffs.
LaFontaine controls the Pat Flatley. University of Wisconsin brought it. He shot one on the net. Peters made an easy stop there. And that's worked off the board. Well, I think the Capitals have kind of taken a little control of the game here over the last 4, 5, 7 minutes.
I think so, Mike, especially with that kill that they just laid on the Islanders and the penalty killing.
Here in Landover, the Capitals won, the Islanders nothing.
Give me a light. A Bud Light.
If you just ask for a light beer, you never know what you'll get.
Case of light? No, Bud Light.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me light.
Ask them to bring out their best.
A Bud Light.
Bud Light. Because everything else
Thanks.
is just a light.
In the Capitol Center, it's still the Islanders trailing the Capitals 1-0. They've got a real ding-dong affair at Le Colisée in Quebec. Hartford trailing Quebec 1-0. Let's join Rick Peckham and Don Blackburn.
1-0 here in the first period with 3:33 remaining in the period. Quebec leading on a power play goal by Anton Stastny at 2:44 of the period. And Quebec coming out flying. 8 of the first 9 shots on goal. The Whalers, helped by some spectacular goaltending by Mike Liut, have settled down. And Liut the difference in holding the score down to 1-0 in favor of the Nordiques. Here's a steal by Dale Hunter, had it chipped away by Joel Quenneville. Gilbert Delorme tied up by John Anderson. Francis in there as well. And they freeze the puck for the stoppage and play with 3:02 to go.
Well, Rick, there was another example of...
So, with 3 minutes left in the first period at Le Colisée, it's Nordiques 1, Whalers 0. Let's go back to the Capitol Center. Mike Lang and company. The Capitals leading 1-0 over the Islanders. Mike?
Thank you, Tom. We got a whole lot of action going on in the National Hockey League tonight. The opening out of the playoffs. And here's the attack started by Bob Bassett. And the rookie moves into the Capitals. In a shot by Gillies. He beats Peters on the stick-hand side. Oh, he just got that one up high. He didn't have much on it at all, Bill Clement, but he got it by Peters over the right shoulder. Well, we are tied at 1.
What a great indication, Mike. If it's not how hard you shoot it, sometimes it's where. A lot of players say that when they score on goaltenders, and there was a prime example. He got the shot away quickly. I think he really kind of caught Pete Peters standing there. What a nice pass by rookie Bob Bassett over to Gillies. Watch how long it takes Gillies to get it away. Doesn't even stop it. Very difficult to get that shot away on the fly when it comes to your forehand like that. Here's a super slow-mo now. Watch how Gillies one-times it. Boy, that is a difficult shot to execute, to just shoot it like that. It made it look easy. That's why Pete Peters was caught. He didn't expect our Gillies, a left-hand shot, to let it go that quickly. Look at that, 4-7 playoff goal. What a playoff
And only his 5th of the year. He had 4 in the regular season. But sometimes the money players come right to the front.
This is a new season, isn't it?
Gillies first in the playoffs. And we've got a 1-1 tie. Peters just seemed to be fooled on the play. And Bassett, the youngster, was signed as a free agent prior to the start of the season. Gets in the game. His first shift sets up a tying goal. Houston there, and it comes off the near corner. Capitals trying to work it out where they have the upper hand going, too. They have some good opportunities against Charlie Rudy. Peters come back in time. And Flatley checked by Mike Gardner. Gardner. And now Fontaine moves into the slot. Kevin Hatcher. He got it up the center, and here's Carpenter with a rush. Drop pass. And David Jensen over skate. Counter-attacking to the Islanders. Fontaine's the man open right side. Flatley lost his helmet. Playing the Capitals in, and a good check on him by Big John Barrett. Oh, he knocks Flatley down now and decks it. And play continues. Barrett can throw out the checks.
Boy, they're still tied up in the corner down there. He's a truck. When John Barrett hits it, you know that, boy, tough guy. Let's go down to Jim Kelly now.
Okay, Mike, the action fast and furious right down here behind Pete Peters. 1-1, the Capitals and the New York Islanders. Don't go away in that first intermission. We'll rejoin Tom Mees, and you're going to enjoy Super Slow-Mo, courtesy of ABC. Scores and highlights, lots of highlights all around the NHL. Opening night of Stanley Cup play, and, of course, we'll have the Bud Light hockey news as well. You know, as you look at that Super Slow-Mo on our coverage here at the Capitol Center, it's certainly the age of video, and Brian Murray, the head coach of the Capitals, was telling me today he actually prepared a motivational tape, Bill Clement, for his Capitals. He has shown it to him twice so far today. They scored lots of goals, they, of course, being Washington on the tape, and he also showed that little altercation between Billy Smith and Scott Stevens to kind of get the Capitals keyed up as if they needed any motivation.
Boy, not a bad idea, Jim. I remember being beaten when I was in Atlanta by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Roger Nielsen, their coach, prepared a motivational tape that did the same thing, and they beat us solidly.
Gauthier puts it right in front of the net, and Peters now with a glove hand stops that one. Well, Gaetan Duchesne scoring for the Washington Capitals, and Clark Gillies for the New York Islanders in a 1-1 tie.
And Mike, on that Clark Gillies goal, Jim Kelly had asked earlier about Bill Torrey's quote concerning Pete Peters, the guy we're looking at right now, and that Pete Peters is a positional goaltender, and I mentioned his agility. That's exactly what happened. They moved the puck over to Gillies, and you know that the Islanders are going to try and get the shot away very quickly on Peters because he can't get over there quickly enough. Definitely a quality National Hockey League goaltender, but listen, everybody in this game has weaknesses, with the exception of perhaps the Edmonton Oilers.
Larry Murphy push it up to Duchesne. Lifts one long on Rudy from the blue line. Rudy finding Richard Crom. Crom comes to the Islanders and immediately put on a line with Trottier and Mike Bossy. That's not a bad situation.
Boy, make you feel welcome right away.
Murphy, former Los Angeles King defenseman, drive it around the boards. It comes off the corner, and Rudy has to put it back in. Now Bob Gould checking well. Duchesne tried to shoot one that came by the short side. Duchesne behind the net. Boy, is he a worker. Comes around, backhand shot, and Rudy stopped that one. Lifted back to center. Rod Langway paired with Larry Murphy. And a steal now by Boudelier. Gildas dump it in, and Duchesne made him pay the price again with a heavy body check.
They're going to do that all night long. That's what they have to do. This is going to be a survival of the fittest type series. That's what Dave Poyle, general manager of the Capitals, how he sees it. I tend to agree with him. Could be a lot of overtime games. It could go to 5 very easily.
1:18 to go in the period. We are tied at 1. Richard Crom. And remember, it's a best-of-5 series, this opening round in Division Play. Dave Christian trying to beat Potvin. Swings across left side. He tried to go to Adams, but he can't connect on the back.
1 minute.
Allworth now. Drops it in. Rudy could not stop that one. The Islander netminder picked up behind him by Greg Adams. And back and forth they go, and Allworth has to chase to his own zone to pick up the puck for the Capitals. To Scott Stevens. Greg Smith will find Howard. Boy, he's got great speed, but he can't carry the puck in that time. Stopped right there at the blue line by the Islanders. The Islanders game plan coming in here quickly against the Capitals. Who think to beat them?
Boy, they just want to play their same grinding style. But, you know, it's no mistake that the Capitals have molded into a team like that. Their general manager, David Poyle, has looked at the rest of the division and said, look, how are we going to beat the Flyers and the Islanders? The answer, to build a team similar to them, only better than them.
Brent Sutter. And Stevens blocked that shot. It's cleared, not out, but a penalty coming up here, an interference call. Now Tippers heat up on the far side of the Capitals end. The original penalty, I think, came from behind the net. But the talking continues there.
Well, Carpenter's in the middle of it. I think somebody gave him a shot. And you know that the Islanders are really going to go out of their way to take advantage of Carpenter and both Gartner and Carpenter's knees. I mean, they're hobbling, so any chance they get to take a shot at them, this is do-or-die situations. Once you get into the playoffs, they're just going to keep hammering away.
Yeah, Bob Carpenter this year had 27 goals, played all 80 games for the Capitals.
As a matter of fact, he hasn't missed a game in 5 years. He's played 400 consecutive games, regular season games, in his first 5 years in the league. So, you know, he's a tough customer, and don't think for a second that he hasn't played with a lot of hurts. You don't play 400 consecutive games without playing hurt quite a bit.
Down to just 3 seconds to go. A penalty issued here against Francis Getty of the Washington Capitals.
Oh, there it is.
The play there.
The tackle by Lou Francis Getty.
So the Islanders will get 3 seconds on a power play chance here. They'll try and win the draw, and who's the trigger man? Yep, you're looking at him right at the blue line. You can't see him now, but it's Mike Bossy. They've got him out there. Now they're going to move him and put Brent Sutter. The ideal thing is to get Sutter to win the draw, and Bossy will try and pick his spot where he wants to be. And
well, absolutely. They have 3 seconds to work with, so they have Dennis Potvin up front. He's going to try and jam in front. They got 1 shot to get the face off, and Langway's taking it for Washington, and Sutter is going to take it for the Islanders.
I can't think of a better guy to have at the point as the trigger man, but they'll never get it to him. And Sutter chases after it. Well, the first period, scoring for the Washington Capitals, Gaetan Duchesne at the 12 or 10-12 mark, and then Clark Gillies coming back for the Islanders to get his first in playoff competition. At 16:25, we've got a 1-1 tie. Your thoughts on the first period?
Oh, tough grinding. Pretty well what we expected. Not wide open, 1-1 score. The shots rather conservative, and that grinding style, the Patrick division, we see it time and time again. So it's nothing other than what we expected, and it's 1-1 Islanders and Caps.
Caps outshot the Islanders 9-8. We'll be right back with Tom Mees and a look at what's happening tonight. Another series around the National Hockey League.
I don't like driving at night.
Because sometimes it's hard to see down the road.
There are times I wish I could turn up the brightness on my high beams.
On a clear night, using standard high beams, the average driver can see an obstacle some 375 feet ahead. Traveling at 55 miles per hour, the driver has less than 2 seconds to react.
To get more reaction time, you need to see further down the road, and this requires brighter headlights.
However, you can't just go out and buy lights as bright as you want, because they are regulated by the government. But what many people don't realize is the headlights they have on their cars may not be as powerful as the law allows.
It used to be that the maximum permitted candle power was 75,000. In 1978, the Department of Transportation changed that, and now allows up to 150,000. That's twice as bright.
But to bring standard headlights up to this higher candle power, a car's electrical system would have to be modified. That would require hefty cost increases for new cars, and it would be impractical for cars already on the road. Clearly, a new technology was needed.
Back in the 60s, we developed a landing light for aircraft that was very bright and used halogen gases. We took that idea and adapted it to a car headlamp.
Halogen gas permits the light to burn brighter than regular incandescent headlamps. So much brighter, in fact, that the halogen high beam lets you see up to 25% farther down the road, and that gives you more time to react. With 1985 models, halogen lights became standard on most new cars. However, for some models, you still need to request them.
For earlier models, General Electric makes a full line of halogen lights that can replace any regular headlamp on any car, and many people can do the installation themselves.
The average life of a headlight is between 150 and 320 hours, so you might not want to wait until your standard lamps burn out before replacing them with halogen lights. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jeffrey Lyons.
For more information, call the GE 24-hour toll-free number.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tom Mees in our Hockey Central. Hope you've enjoyed period number 1 of 35 games and maybe more. Live Stanley Cup playoff coverage here on ESPN. It's 1-1 after 1 in Washington between the Islanders and Caps. No score late in the first period at the Forum in Montreal. Let's join the Montreal Canadiens and the Boston Bruins, Dick Irvin and Harry Neal.
Montreal on the power play, a minute 22 left in the penalty to Reed Larson, and finally we get the Bruins bringing about a whistle deep in the Boston zone. I'm Dick Irvin with Harry Neal in the broadcast booth at the Montreal Forum. 2:01 left to play in the first period, a scoreless first period. But the Bruins have dominated play, and the Canadians' rookie goaltender, 20-year-old Patrick Roy, has been the outstanding man on the ice so far.
Bobby Smith looks like he's really enjoying playing hockey again, and for a couple of years there, it looked like a chore, but now it looks like fun, and that's one of the reasons why he's having a great year.
He scored 31 goals, his best since 81-82, and he scored 43 times for the Minnesota North Stars. He's out there at center ice right now. They still have Nyland on the right side. Smith won the faceoff from Foster, but it got away from Larry Robinson. Nasley. Cross for Chilios. This is where the Canadians were in trouble before, Harry. They had some pressure on, but once they got it out of the Boston zone, they had trouble getting organized. See what happens here. Nasley against Raymond Bourque. Smith follows up. Casper checking him. Bourque with the loose puck. Good play by Bourque and Casper for Boston to Klusak. And they shoot it down the ice. Less than a minute remaining now in the Boston penalty. 50 seconds. And the Canadians have to regroup in their own zone.
Well, Montreal isn't quite as good at Boston as recovering loose pucks in the power play. And it's a tough part of the power play, but absolutely necessary if it's going to be successful.
Chris Chilios with the puck in the Boston zone against John Blum behind the net for Chilios. Klusak with the puck, couldn't feed it past players and the referee. And Chilios comes up with it in the corner for Montreal. In front, a shot. Chris Nyland with the shot, and Riggin with his first touchdown of the game.
It was a good save. I don't think he stopped it. I think he just hit with it. But he'll count it as save.
Robinson lets it go, but Riggin saw it all the way, and he made the glove grab before he got rid of the puck. The whistle had gone. Pat Riggin was a big man for Boston in his last start of the season, or his last Saturday night game. I forget who played for Boston Sunday, but he kept them in the game in Quebec, and they came out of it with a tie Saturday night, and that looked like it had given them second place with a home game against Hartford coming up the next night, and the Whalers having clinched the playoff spot. Didn't work out that way. So Mats Naslund and his Canadian teammates frustrated on that power play for them. We have 12 seconds left in the penalty to Reed Larson.
So there you have an update from the forum in Montreal. Stanley Cup hockey, typical, huh? No score late in the first period between the Canadiens and the Boston Bruins. Our score after one from our primary telecast, the Islanders won, the Washington Capitals won. We'll be back with more Road to the Stanley Cup in just a moment.
Recently, Chi-Chi's Mexican restaurant sent its master chef Tomas to a new place to look for recipes. He has just returned. The result is shrimp chihitas. Tender shrimp sizzling on a blackened iron skillet, simmering in seasoned butter. You can even wrap them in warm tortillas. It's one of our many regional seafood feasts of Mexico, all at great prices. Chi-Chi's, reaching new depths to bring you great food.
Next to having no job, there's nothing worse than having a dull job. But I'm going to call ITT Technical Institute about training for a career in electronics.
The number is 422-3495.
Yeah, I know the number. And I know high-tech's the field to be in.
It's sure not dull.
Well, you're right. I've got to get my career going. And electronics is the way to go.
Start by calling ITT Technical Institute at 422-3495.
Yeah, but I thought maybe I'd wait a while. Find out what else might come my way.
Once they were the problem.
This is you. Your criminal past. They gave you to me.
Now they are the solution.
We cleaned out the park. Next come the streets.
Now they're on our side.
Let's take the man down.
From the maker of Miami Vice. Band of the Hand. Rated R. Starts Friday at a theater near you.
Welcome back to our ESPN Hockey Studios. Night one of the Road to the Stanley Cup. Just the first of 35, at least 35 telecasts right here on ESPN of live Stanley Cup action. Our game is Washington and the Islanders. That is 1-1 after one period. Highlights of that a little bit later on. But up at Le Colisée in Quebec, the Hartford Whalers and the Quebec Nordiques. What a game they've had so far in the first period. Let's go to highlights now. Hartford and Quebec, these two dead even against each other in the regular season. Early first period, no score. Michel Goulet from behind the net, in front to Anton Stastny, who beats Mike Liut, who's been brilliant, 1-0 Quebec. Then Mike Liut makes a great save, robbing Michel Goulet here from point-blank range. It's still 1-0 Quebec. Now watch Michel Goulet beat Mike McEwen, and Liut makes the big save again. Quebec's lead is still 1-0. Less than a minute left in the first period. Dean Everson corners the puck, shoots, he scores! Sylvain Turgeon on the screen. Hartford and Quebec are tied at 1 at the end of the first period of play. in Montreal. The Boston Bruins and Canadiens, no score. They have just ended the first period of play at the Forum on St. Catherine Street. At the Spectrum in Philadelphia, the Rangers and the Flyers. The Flyers dominated the Rangers in the regular season, but in the first period of play, on a New York Ranger power play with no score in the game, the Rangers would dent the net first against goaltender Bob Froese. Froese, of course, who has played most of the time since the tragic death of Pelle Lindbergh, has come up big. But on this one, Sandstrom feeds Mike Ridley, who scores. There's Ridley on the off wing. He shoots and he scores 1-0. That was Bobby Brook making it 2-1 Rangers, and then the Flyers come up and tie it up as Dave Poulin scores from in close on the Flyer power play, and we are tied at 2, that Poulin goal, and that is now just getting set for the second period at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. The Flyers and Rangers tied at 2. Toronto Maple Leafs and Chicago Blackhawks just getting set to drop the puck at Chicago Stadium. No score, of course, on that one. St. Louis and Minnesota likewise just getting set to drop the puck at the Met Center in Bloomington, Minnesota. Later on tonight, it'll be the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Vancouver Canucks, and the Calgary Flames will skate against the Winnipeg Jets. As far as our game, the Capitals and the New York Islanders, the Caps trying to get rid of 3 straight years of frustration at the hands of the New York Islanders. We're tied 1-1, end of 1. In case you tuned in late, let's show you who scored and how they did it. Washington got on the board first. Gaetan Duchesne was the hero of the moment for the crowd in the Capitol Center. Duchesne would take a nice pass off the stick of Dave Christian. There's Christian, number 27, with the puck. He fakes, he dekes, he passes over. A wide-open Duchesne makes no mistake to the top of the net, beating Kelly Rudy. It's 1-0 Washington. But later in the period, Clark Gillies, remember him? Some people may have forgotten. Clark Gillies hasn't gone away. A nice one-handed shot there as the puck was on the fly. So Duchesne for Washington, Clark Gillies for the New York Islanders. They're tied at 1 after one period at the Capitol Center, Landover, Maryland. We've only just begun the road to the Cup here on ESPN. We'll be back with more of the Stanley Cup first round in just a moment.
Just finished my first day at a great new job. You know where I found it? Here, in the National Business Employment Weekly. Every issue tells you about the best jobs available. Managerial, professional, technical. At top companies across the country. Top salaries from $25,000 a year to $250,000. Every issue has articles to help you land the job that's right for you. Writing a better resume. Coming across strong in interviews. Marketing yourself. Then when you get the job you want, articles that help you manage your career, like setting career goals, salary statistics, how to ask for a raise and get it. The National Business Employment Weekly helps you get a great job, helps you do a great job. Don't make a career move without it.
Ask for the National Business Employment Weekly at your newsstand, or if you prefer, get the next 8 issues by first-class mail for $35. Call toll-free 800-372-3000. 8 weekly issues, $35. Call 800-372-3000 now.
Hi, everybody. Larry Burnett in the ESPN Sports Center newsroom, updating you on some of the things going on today. Lots of baseball, so let's first of all go to the American League and see what's been happening there. For the second day in a row, Detroit has beaten Boston by that 6-5 score. Willie Hernandez gets the win today in relief. Dave Bergman, a single, drives in Darrell Evans with the winning run in that game. Chicago and Milwaukee in action today. The Brewers win that one. Tim Leary comes up with the win for the Brewers. And it was Minnesota taking Oakland by a run again today. Mike Smithson goes all the way for the win in that one. Jay Howell takes the loss. Cleveland and Baltimore in action. Baltimore wins again. They beat Cleveland 4-3. Mike Boddicker started in that game. Ossie comes up with the win in relief. One other game in progress tonight, Kansas City and the Yankees going at it. The Yankees and Kansas City leading that one now 3-2. It is in the third. George Brett, a home run in that game. One game in progress in the National League. It is Philadelphia and Cincinnati. They are all tied at 1 in the fourth. Eric Davis, a home run in that game for Cincinnati. It came in the first inning. Coming up next, Tom Mees has more in the Bud Light hockey news, so stay tuned. I'm Larry Burnett in the Sports Center. We'll see you later on tonight.
Ever dream of being a movie mogul and owning the hottest names in Hollywood on video cassette? Like Smokey and the Bandit, Jaws, Somewhere in Time, The Blues Brothers, Nighthawks, Animal House, The Sting, 20 fabulous MCA hits on video for only $24.95 each. So be a Hollywood biggie, like me. Just go down to your video store and say, hey, make me a movie mogul.
Just because you've washed your car doesn't mean you're finished. After each wash, you need some Armor All. On the dash, the bumper, and especially the tires. After all, when you're in love, what's a few extra minutes? Armor All. It's the finishing touch every time you wash your car.
We're going your way, saving the style. We're going your way, mile after mile. We're going your way, we're Budget.
At Budget, you get stylish cars without the stylish prices. Just $39.95 for a luxurious Lincoln. There's no better way to go.
We're going your way, we're Budget, and we're going your way.
If you just ask for a light beer...
Give me a light.
You never know what you'll get.
No. What I wanted. Bud Light.
So if you want the less spilling light beer with the first name and taste, ask for Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
Stanley Cup hockey is traditionally close checking and very close scoring between the two teams. You don't see too many blowouts. I don't want to say that I'm correct on that point, but all 4 early games at the end of one period are tied. You'll see what I mean when we go to the scoreboard. Hartford and Quebec, they scored 33 goals against each other during the regular season. They've scored 1 against each other in the playoffs, 1-1 after 1. The Rangers and Flyers, 2-2, just getting set to start the second period. That's the New York Rangers and the Philadelphia Flyers at the Spectrum. Elsewhere, Boston and Montreal are at the end of the first period, and the Chicago and Toronto, no score. That game just getting underway at Chicago Stadium. Now the St. Louis Blues and Minnesota North Stars also no score. That game just getting underway at the Met Center in Bloomington, Minnesota. Later on tonight, the Edmonton Oilers take on the Vancouver Canucks at the Northlands Coliseum in Edmonton. Well, our score after one period, the New York Islanders won and the Washington Capitals won. Gaetan Duchesne putting the Capitals on the board early with a goal, and then the Clark Gillies tying it up for the New York Islanders. Now let's go to the Met Center, Bloomington, Minnesota. The start of the game between the Blues and the North Stars. Here's Dan Kelly.
The North Stars, Fred Hartsburg, trying to clear it out. Held in by Rick Mahar, number 22 for the Blues. Behind the net to Sutter. Now Wickenheiser getting it to Mark Reeves, who tried to stuff it in. He couldn't, and back comes Dino Cicerelli for Minnesota. Big shot wide of the target. Puck into the St. Louis zone. This game just underway. Shot from the point by Rels is blocked. And number 15 for St. Louis, Reeves, over to Rick Mahar, number 22, who shoots it in. Reeves behind the net to Doug Wickenheiser trying to center one. Wickenheiser, number 14, being checked by number 14 for the North Stars, Bukestad. But now Reeves gets it. And he's hammered into the boards, and the North Stars come back into center ice. Breaking it up is Mahar, number 22, who turns at center. His pass over onto the wing, but Reeves had gone to the bench, and Bourgeois for St. Louis shoots it into the Minnesota zone. Kurt Giles back to get it. Into center ice to Marouk. Cleared it to the line, but not out. Here's Doug Gilmore. Moves in, backhander. Big save there by Beaupre as he clipped out his right leg. Back comes Minnesota. Shot in by Kent Nielsen. Now Dennis Marouk on left wing. Knocking it in behind the net. But the puck just stayed on the top of the boards and is finally held there. And we'll get a stoppage and a face-off in the St. Louis zone.
A minute. So the festivities have started at the Met Center in Bloomington, Minnesota. The North Stars and the Blues. You'll see Game 2 of that series live tomorrow night on ESPN at 8:30. As for our game from Washington, after one period, it's the Capitals won and the New York Islanders won. They've just finished resurfacing the ice at the Capitol Center. We'll be going back for the second period in just one moment. The NHL on ESPN is being brought to you by Job's Spikes. Job's does the job at the roots. By Casio, maker of the shock-resistant, water-resistant G-Shock. It's one tough watch to beat. And by Rolaids. For acid indigestion or heartburn, Rolaids spelled...
We are back at the Capitol Center. The opening playoff round between the Capitals and the New York Islanders, and the game tied at 1. Interesting series. Of course, the Islanders have eliminated Washington the last 3 years in a row to move on to further competition. Well, take a look at how these two teams match up. Bill
Well,
Clement.
we looked at this earlier in the game, and these are my picks here. The injuries, even with only Gustafson injured, Carpenter and Gartner are playing. The Islanders still have an advantage. Gustafson being such a big loss to the Islanders. Goaltending, about even, I would say. Home ice, well, naturally that goes to the Capitals, but we could change that tick to the other side should the Capitals lose here tonight. Momentum, all with the Islanders. After losing that key game to the Flyers at the end of the year, I have to go with the Islanders on the momentum. They played so well. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this without worrying about where they finished. They knew they were going to finish third. Special teams, well, Mike, you probably disagree with me. In spite of the fact that Gustafson's injured, still give the nod to the Caps on their season totals. And the history, well, it's all Islanders, the last 3 series. So, you know, the history of the fact that the Islanders have beaten the Washington Capitals is something that they're really going to have to, you know, try hard to shake. Here's a look at Clark Gillies' goal in super slow-mo. Watch Basson come over the blue line. Now, this is a low-percentage shot, but the advantage of a low-percentage shot is if it's properly executed, you can catch everybody sleeping. Watch this. Gillies just directs it at the net. Doesn't get that much wood on it because it's impossible to get that much wood on it from that angle, and Peters kind of left sleeping there, and we talked about him not being that agile. That's one of the things that the Islanders are going to keep concentrating on, but that was a low-percentage shot, wasn't it, Mike? But that's, you know, that's sometimes you just direct it at the net, and you catch everybody, including the goalie.
I'll tell you, the slow-mo certainly showed me. I thought that they had the puck went over his right shoulder, but it caught the blocking glove and bounced in. You saw very clearly.
Right.
Islanders start with a power play to begin period number 2. Lou Francischetti off at 19:57 of that first period, so the Islanders will be trying to take the lead. Special teams, and I did disagree with you. I think with Gustafson out, it really hurts the cause for the Capitals. And the Islanders have shown that they've been a good playoff specialty team squad, as they really have dominated at times. They've got great penalty killing. Last year they had good penalty killing, too, against the Capitals in winning that series. Langway, though, with it, around the near side.
Boy,
and now they come.
Listen to those boos, Mike, for Dennis Putman every time he touches the puck. And the reason for that, we'll remind you again, is that it was Dennis Putman's check that broke Bent Gustafson's legs against the New York Islanders, and a big loss for the Capitals, and the fans here really remember that.
Murphy going back to play the puck. And we have an icing call against the Islanders. Well, the special team's not looking extremely good right now for the New York Islanders. They are 10th on the power play during the course of the regular season, but they really improved that mark during the last half. They had 73 power play goals on the season.
Well, I can honestly say, Mike, if I was a penalty killer when I played, and if I were playing the New York Islanders in this series, the one thing I would be afraid of is their power play, and I wouldn't care how it had done this year. I take a look at who they have. Thomas Janssen, Denny Putman back there on defense. You have Bossy up there on the right side with Trottier at center, and they have a ton of firepower. So that would be the element of the Islanders that I would fear, and I'm sure Brian Murray has told his troops, listen, guys, can't take any unnecessary penalties.
Randy Boyd controlling the disc with 1:05 to go now in the Francischetti penalty, right in front of that net. And a scramble, and we're going to get a delay of game penalty called here against Boudelier.
Boy, unusual call, Mike. You can see Paul Boudelier very frustrated at the call. He was stomping mad after Hogarth had called the penalty. Now, his back was to us, so we couldn't see it, but he ended up with the puck between his knees. And, boy, in the playoffs, that's a gutsy call by Ron Hogarth. Having not seen it well, it's difficult to tell whether it was an accurate call. There's Kelly Rudy. Now, watch. There's Boudelier with the puck. Now, his back is to us. He cradles it, and he throws it down between his legs. Gosh, I don't know. From here, we were unable to see if he actually closed his hand on the puck. That was the call, and difficult to tell. Hogarth had a lot better view of it than we did, but in any event, usually when a player protests that vehemently, as Boudelier did, it's an indication that he might not have been guilty. However, the whole world's saying, who cares? It's already done. Looks like the Caps are going to end up with a power play here pretty soon.
Well, it's 1 minute and 2 seconds to go in the Francischetti penalty to the Capitals. And this one now beginning. To Boudelier. Closing the hand on the puck. Not delay a game. And it comes to LaFontaine. LaFontaine moving in with the Brent Sutter. Dropping up to Conroy with a heavy blast, but he just missed. And picked up now. And worked back to center right. Scott Stevens. He's checked neatly by LaFontaine. It comes free to Murphy, though. Moves in. He put it softly to the net. I don't know if he should have fired that puck full bore or not. I think he was trying to make a perfect pass.
I think, Mike, he saw Christian breaking from the right side, so he decided to hold up, and he lost the whole momentum with that.
Stevens looking for Christian off his skate and back to center. Johnson carries the mail. Left side to LaFontaine. LaFontaine makes the play in front. Peters now to the side of the net, holds on. LaFontaine took a whack at it, trying to jam it free, but he could not.
Well, I tell you what we didn't see on that play, Mike, was LaFontaine didn't have a stick. He actually skated by the Islanders bench on that rush, picked up a stick from one of the guys that was leaning over the bench, and actually caught the puck and made a shot on net with somebody else's stick. We could see him going back to the bench. There he is.
I wonder if it was his stick. It didn't, I can't tell. Sometimes you'll get a different stick from somebody else.
Well, depending on how much time you have, the trainer usually likes to have time to pick up, trainers watch for you losing your stick or breaking your stick, and then what they do is get your stick ready for when you come to the bench. But if they don't see it in time, boy, you need a stick. You'll take anybody's. Very often, left-hand shots end up out on the ice with a stick that's curved the wrong way, and it's really impossible to do anything with. But I'll tell you, any stick is better than no stick.
Brett Sutter, number 21, along with Bob Bourne against Bob Carpenter and Mike Gardner. The two Bruce Capitals are out here. Gardner and Bob Carpenter. We are tied at 1 early in period number 2. And Kevin Hatcher, the big 6'4", 207-pound defenseman, goes to Rod Langlois. He has the same type of size. Feeded over for Mike Gardner, and his backhand attempt was blocked. And here are the Islanders counterattacking. They've got good speed here. Carpenter's back as a defenseman. Here's Bourne moving in. Slap shot, and the save made by Peters. Well, that was a tough position to put Carpenter in, too, with that bad knee. Trying to play as a defenseman. Langway 3-on-2 back. Langway in front, and he had Francis Kenny, who just came on, and it was just wide of his stick. Along the near side, Langway shoots one, and Rudy holds on to that one in the midsection. The power play is now on for the Capitals.
Boy, that was a 4-on-2, Mike, and Langway made a heck of a pass in front. There are a number of options he could have used, but he made a nice slick pass in front of the net. Now, Kelly Rudy's waiting for it as we got our super slow-mo hooked up here. Rudy just waiting in the shot. Now, watch Francischetti. Oh, well, it looks like Rudy got his stick there at the same time as Francischetti. The good thing Rudy was there for Lou Francischetti's sake, or he might have caromed into that goalpost. He actually deflected a whole body wide of the net. See how agile Rudy is. Look at his glove out there. Just waiting. Always has that glove poised to the side. And to bring it back in for that one. Boy, it's nice to have that super slow-mo.
You see the concentration on number 5, Potvin, and Boyd also. I mean, just deep concentration in a game like this. When you get to the playoffs, I mean, every single play is so important. And the Capitals now trying to take advantage of this situation. A 1-1 tie. They've got the power play. Christian Bristeen won, but it went over the left shoulder of Rudy. Murphy to Pedersen. Going to Christian. He's there. His shot, and again, Rudy denied him. Well, Christian comes out of that corner so well now, and he can really fire it. Stevens left one. That one hit a leg in front. Back to Stevens again. Head down and slip. Shot missed. Murphy beats it back in the corner for Laughlin. Laughlin, good pass to Pedersen. 5 seconds from the penalty in front, and Rudy again sweeps it away. Left point to Stevens. Last shot on this power play. Deflected. Morrow trying to clear. Here comes Boudelier on. The penalty is expired. Stevens, though, going now to Murphy. To Pedersen. Snap one wide behind the goal. Stevens again. He can't find the net. Pedersen. Stopped by Trottier. And a puck play to the blue line, but not out now. Cleared by Conroy.
So important, Mike. Stevens had 3 golden opportunities just to get the puck on the net. He had screens in front and everything, and he missed on every shot.
Stevens looking for Laughlin. He overskates the play here. The Islanders 2-on-1. Bossy on the right wing. He loves to shoot from here. He'll give it instead in front to Crum, and it's wide of the goal. It was too high. The pass deflected up high on him. Now Peters does the splits and stops the play. Here at the Capitol Center, the score. The Islanders won. The Capitals won.
I'm Spike from Job's. How do you help keep your trees tall, green, and handsome? With Job's Tree Spikes. Watch. Surface fertilizers can get partially washed away, but Job's continuously feeds vital nutrients where it counts, at the roots, so your tree looks tremendous. Thanks to Job's Tree Spikes. Job's Spikes for shrubs and young trees, too. Job's does the job at the roots.
Well, the Washington Capitals just finished a power play in Landover. Meanwhile, at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, the Flyers have a 2-man advantage on the New York Rangers. Let's go live to the Spectrum. Sam Rosen, Phil Esposito.
Back to Howe, now to McCrimmon. 5-on-3 advantage for Philadelphia. McCrimmon waits, feeds Prop. His shot, stopped by Van Beesbrook. Poulin in the corner with the puck. Poulin back pass to McCrimmon. McCrimmon shoots, save Van Beesbrook. The rebound is under Van Beesbrook with 18 seconds to go in the 2-man advantage.
Well, we talked about it before the game for the Rangers to be in this game
and to have an opportunity, Van Beesbrook's going to stand on his head and watch him how he is. Here's the shot. Here's the save. And he holds off the rebound. Look at it. He sits on it. And there's no way that they're going to get it by him, he's saying to himself. Minutes to go in the second period, tied 2-2 here at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Flyers with a 5-on-3 manpower advantage. Maloney off for another 18 seconds. Greshner a minute 42 to go in his penalty. Rangers have been down a man for the last 2 minutes and 28 seconds. Well, Johnny Van Beesbrook has stopped them, and the Rangers have done real well, making the Flyers shoot from out far.
So the Flyers and Rangers still tied at 2. We'll let you know if the score changes. That's 2-2, Philadelphia and the Rangers. Let's go back to Washington now. It's still 1-1, the Capitals and Islanders and Mike Lang.
All right, Tom Mees, and we have a stop and play here at the Capitol Center. Well, the Rangers getting good goaltending tonight, apparently, from John Van Beesbrook.
Well, I'll tell you, Mike, they're going to have all the goaltending in the world to beat the Flyers. But, you know, Johnny Van Beek this year has had such a wonderful year that, you know, anything can happen. It's a short series, and they got one thing on their side, and that's a real hot goaltender in Johnny Van Beesbrook.
There's Kelly Rudy. And a look at the regular season record that Rudy posted. We're tied at 1. Neither club able to get on the board here. Well, we were talking about the matchup with Gould and Duchesne against the Trottier line.
What a job they're doing. They outshot that Trottier line 5-1 in the first period. Now, they're supposed to be the checking line. They're not supposed to be the offensive unit. So there's an offside call. So they did a heck of a job. And I think Duchesne has added a couple of shots in this period. So,
and they picked up a goal, too. We have 15 minutes and 15 seconds to go here in the second period. The shots are now 13-12 in favor of the Capitals. These two clubs played 5 games last year in their series. The first 2 going to overtime, so that'll be nothing new for the two squads.
Well, that makes you gray a little faster. Makes the hair, makes the temples go gray a little faster for all concerned when you get into those overtime situations.
You know, more amazing for the Islanders to come back and win that series 3-2. They lost the first 2 games to the Caps in overtime. Boy, those are disheartening losses, too, back-to-back. Here's Hallworth on a rush now. Hallworth with good speed. Trying to get around Conroy. Penalty coming up here. And I believe it'll be against the Islanders. Along the near side. And here at the Capitol Center, the score. The Capitals won, the Islanders won.
Introducing the G-Shock 5200 watch from Casio. The sports watch that's ready for action with a built-in shock absorber. It's tough, so tough, this G-Shock can take a slap in the face. And not even flinch. The G-Shock 5200, just one of Casio's water-resistant sports watches. It's one tough watch to beat.
In Chicago, the Maple Leafs on the power play against the Blackhawks. Steve Thomas shoots and scores. What is it about the Maple Leafs, the way they dominate Chicago? Let's go back to Washington and Mike Lang.
Thank you, Tom. And now the penalty to Greg Gilbert of the New York Islanders. Tripping minor at 5'10".
And Mike, you know, one of the keys for the power play for the Washington Capitals is the fact that they're 6th in the NHL at home, 13th on the road. They're going to have to capitalize on their power plays at home.
Pedersen going to Stevens. He shoots again, and he
still can't hit the net.
Yeah, he might be pressing a little bit too much here. Still, and trying to get that quick shot down low where he wants it. A little patience might help out. Here's Pedersen, right wing corner. And off Morrow's blade, and the Islanders with a good effort to clear.
Well, you know, Mike, everybody reacts differently under pressure, and we might be seeing a tight Scott Stevens, but gosh, I mean, Brian Murray has to tell him, and I'm sure he is, listen, kid, all you got to do is get the thing on the net. We got troops standing there waiting to pounce on the rebound, and it's imperative that you hit the net. I mean, that shot is not supposed to go in the net from there. It is not designed to go in the net, and it shouldn't be intended to when the shooter lets it go.
Well, we're going to see Mike Gartner coming on here. He's a big man on their power play attack, and of course, after undergoing knee surgery, he'll play on the right point. They're going to bring Stevens to stay on the left side. We might be thinking the same thing we were just thinking about. Let's get it over to the right point for Gartner for a while. Now Gardner looking for Stevens. 1:20 to go in the Greg Gilbert penalty. The Islanders are shorthanded. 1-1 the score here in the second period. Game 1 of this best-of-5 playoff series. Pedersen, who has become kind of a power play specialist player, too. Seen more ice time with some injuries recently. Right side to Gardner. There's that slam. Shot right on. The stop made by Rudy. That's exactly what we were talking about.
Josh, that came out of a crowd, Mike. I'm not sure that he didn't pick it up until the last second. You can't stop what you can't see. And it looked as if he just darted his left hand out at the last second. A heck of a shot by Mike Gardner. This guy Gardner, now you can see why he is on the power play on the point. What a shot from the point. And Randy Boyd was partially screening Kelly Rudy. He was actually trying to move Craig Laughlin out of the way. Here's the super slow-mo. Now watch Boyd take Laughlin's stick there in front of the net. Once the defenseman does that, there's very little a forward can do except hope to screen. You're really out of the play as far as being able to direct it. And now there's Laughlin trying to get to the puck. No way. Randy Boyd already has a stick. Didn't get called for it, so he got away with one. But you know, when you're down a man, referees kind of let that stuff go a little more than they do at even strength.
You're using your head, too. It takes a couple of years, about a year, to get used to that. You see the big boys do it when you're in tight, and you see that happening. You learn to do it real quick. All right, point. This is Larry Murphy now. Stevens Gardner comes off that point. And it goes back behind Rudy. Murphy played it up Trottier. Look at the hustle there by Trottier. Here's Bossy back shorthanded. You don't give him much room anywhere on the ice. 1-on-3. Stops the play. Slows it down, but he lost the puck now to Laughlin. 38 to go in the penalty. Stevens couldn't carry it in. Christian will turn and set it up. Last year in the playoff series, the Capitals only scored on 14% of their opportunities. They were 4 for 28, and one of the differences in the series. And Peters swings it out to Stevens with not much time. Maybe a final rush. Stevens trying to lay it up for Christian on the left wing. And that's going to be an icing call. Scotty Stevens had a tough time on that power play.
Boy, he had so many opportunities. You know, you can be a hero so quickly when you get all those opportunities. If you don't capitalize on them, your stock kind of drops a little bit. You know, you mentioned specialty teams, Mike. They're so important in these short series, aren't they? Because, you know, one game, one bad penalty kill can turn it all around. It's a 5-game series. Now, I don't think anybody would argue that in an 80-game series, which is what these guys just came through, a series against everybody, that the Capitals are a superior team. They finished with 17 points ahead of the New York Islanders. Now, if you get into one of these short series, get those specialty teams working, and boy, you're down a couple of games before you know it, and then there's a big, big hill to climb right in front of you.
Well, the Islanders have an advantage here because they have the face-off in the Capital zone with 17 seconds to go in the penalty to Greg Gilbert. Kevin Hatcher will have to hurry it along. Ooh, put that out in front of the net. That was a dangerous pass. Unfortunately, nobody there. There's a delayed offside coming up here against the Capitals. Boy, they just couldn't make anything click to get it going. The one good shot by Gardner. They're down to 4 seconds left here in the power play chance.
What a dangerous pass by Hatcher in front of the net. That's a sign of youth. The kid's 19 years old. He's a 19-year-old giant, 6'4", and what did you say he was, too? He's somewhere between 210 and 220. I heard this morning that his weight fluctuates depending on how much he plays, naturally. But that's a sign of youth, and you really want to hope as a team and as a coach that your young guys don't choke under pressure. You know, a lot of these guys, I mean, very many of these guys that we're going to be seeing on ESPN in the playoffs have never been in this situation before. And you can only hope and pray that they will react accordingly and not really cough up the big one in front of the net. Boy, it's a long summer for some kid that coughs a big goal up that could potentially lose a series.
Well, Stevens has played in all 3 prior series against the Islanders.
Well, I'm talking about Hatcher more than...
Yes, I know. I'm sorry. I beg your pardon. And here is LaFontaine. Giving the puck to Randy Boyd. Boyd moves up. He'll look for LaFontaine. Back to Boyd. He's in deep on the play. Flatley will cover the point as the defenseman went in. Now the play, though, it's controlled by Hallward. Adams back to Hallward. Had trouble controlling. Laughlin right wing board, and his shot missed. Langwood. Oh, Rudy didn't see that one until the last second. They got a glove on it. Hallward took a swipe at it. Got nothing but air. Gilbert having trouble clearing. Finally, it hops back to the neutral zone. Big collision at center with Greg Smith and Greg Gilbert. And the Capitals start in again. Potvin strips it away from Greg Laughlin. Potvin, headman pass. He loves to make that pass up the middle. It'll be Barrett. To Pedersen. Good burst of speed. Slows the play up. And he can't find Leach. Franciscetti collide. Franciscetti throwing out those checks like it's the first of the month. You got to make payment.
Forecheck, back check, paycheck. The 3 big checks in hockey.
11:38.
left in the second period. 1-1 the score. Flatley moves in. Barrett got a piece of him. He tried to center anyway, but Pedersen cleans up his own zone. A penalty coming up, though. A high-sticking call against the Capitals' John Barrett. The score here, the Islanders won, the Capitals won.
Give me a light. No. Bud Light.
If you just ask for a light beer,
Thanks.
you never know what you'll get.
Nah, give me a light. No, Bud Light.
So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light.
Ask them to bring out their best.
Bud Light.
Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
At the Spectrum in Philadelphia, New York Rangers on the power play. Watch at the point. Patrick to Sandstrom to Mike Ridley, his second goal of the game. That made it 3-2. The Rangers have just scored again. They lead the Flyers 4-2. Mike?
An upset going in the making there at the Spectrum in Philadelphia.
Boy, if they can take that first game, they'll really be a much larger, giant step towards taking out the Flyers.
The Flyers won 18 of the last 19 regular season meetings, but, you know, hidden victories comes up and hits you once in a while, too. The odds can work against you. And the Rangers have a lead 4-2, but the Flyers have shown they've been able to come back a lot of times this year. John Barrett in the penalty box for high sticking. The Capitals are shorthanded. Here are the Islanders now and their power play opportunity. And it's in crucial situations like this. At about this point of the game, the Islanders seem to come up with a big goal at times, especially in playoff action. Janssen drills it in. Peters leaves it for Langwood. He gave it to Murphy, and Duchesne whacks it out of the air with his glove.
Boy, what a game this kid's having. He's really doing everything he's being asked of and more, and that's what the Capitals are going to have. Their role players are going to have to come through. Talked to David Poyle, their general manager, before the game. Let's face it, they don't have a Mike Bossy, and they don't have a Brian Trottier, at least statistically. So their role players are really going to have to do the job. Duchesne is one of those players.
Good play by Francis Getty to move it in for the Islanders zone. Francis Getty has worked hard tonight to Stevens. That one's on the net, and that one's stopped by Rudy. And then the Capitals doing an excellent job of killing this penalty. Brent Sutter can't hold the pass. Picked up by Thomas Janssen. Janssen left side to Bossy. Bossy will leave it now for Crom. Slip shot, and that's off Peters' blocking glove and up into the crowd.
Boy, he caught all of that one, Mike. Crom really let that puck go. And, you know, he was an unknown commodity when he came to the Islanders, at least from an Eastern Seaboard standpoint. He played in Calgary and was acquired by Bill Torrey in a trade at the deadline. He and Steve Conroy came from the Calgary Flames in exchange for John Tonelli, and he's really a kind of kid. He's 21 years old, and everybody's really impressed with him. He'll do absolutely anything he's asked, and a real good team guy, and he can shoot the puck. He's much better offensively than they had anticipated. Take a look at his shot. He really catches it all. Now, talked about Peters being a position player. Look how far out of the net he is, and that's one of the reasons why he was able to catch that shot with his arm. He really has to play the odds and play the angles.
Here is the face-off and a win by the Islanders, and now Bossy shot that one just wide of the glove-hand side. Up beat Peters. Stevens move it up, but not out. Stevens will try again, and that's off Crom's stick. Crom originally was the first-round draft choice of the Calgary Flames. Potvin, the Islanders' captain. Went rink wide with it. Crom cannot get to it. Stevens. It was a good play by Stevens, and he'll turn and clear. Well, he's making up for the efforts he had on the power play and doing a good job of clearing the puck.
Oh, this guy might miss the net a few times, Mike, but he is a trier. You know, I really think he's going to be one of the premier defensemen in the league. He's big. He's so strong. He's very difficult to play against defensively because he's so good, and he has the offensive skills, too. Just a matter of time before he puts it all together. He's learning the game right now.
Duchesne hit by Crom, and Crom took the worst of that. Stevens again is right there, and a good play by the Capitals, and here they are, shorthanded. Gold right side, a slip shot, and a stop made by Rudy, the rebound. And it went in behind the net. The net was knocked off the mooring. And with 9:10 to go in the period, we are tied. Islanders won, the Capitals won.
When I wanted new golf clubs, I didn't buy the first ones I saw. I asked a pro. But when I needed a trimmer to keep my beard and mustache looking great, I didn't ask anyone. I bought the best around. The Groomsman by Wall, with a one-of-a-kind attachment for virtually foolproof trimming. Wall invented the electric clipper almost 70 years ago, and they're still #1 with hairstyling pros. So why didn't I ask a pro about Wall? I didn't have to. I am a pro. The Groomsman and other fine products by Wall. Ask a pro.
Well, we're going to switch now from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland for a moment to the Forum in Montreal, where sometimes boys will be boys. Boston and Montreal no score, but they just had a big fight. Let's go to Dick Irvin.
And all of that. But I don't know what Lewis saw in the way of what happened when it all began, and then,
well, Nyland could really get a serious penalty here. They could toss him out. Once the practice starts, if you start another one, they can say you're starting another battle after the first one began, and that would be an awful loss for the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, he's not out there. He's in the penalty box, but he's not out of the game. Robinson goes in. I'm sure that... All right, now here's Robinson up against the boards, and Slager takes a run at him with the elbow to the side of the head. That's what upset Larry Robinson. Slager paid for that one as Robinson finally got into a position to flatten him and keep him pinned to the ice for a couple of minutes or so. And then everybody else decided to get into the act. Penalties coming up, Hockey Night in Canada, a Stanley Cup tradition.
So there you saw Dick Irvin describing what happened in Montreal. That elbow by Louis Slager upset the Montreal Canadiens and Chris Nyland, and a lot of penalties followed, and there is still no score in that game in the second period. Let's go back to the Cap Center, Landover, Maryland, Washington, and the New York Islanders.
And back live here, still tied at 1 with 8:46 to go in the second period. Thomas Johnson giving the puck to Steve Conroy. The Islanders will be called on an offside play here. At the Capitals line, they have people trapped inside. Well, the tone of the game, the way it's gone in the second period. Any thoughts, Bill Clement?
Well, I'll tell you, Kelly Rudy is earning his paycheck tonight. He's had to have that left hand working at all times, made some great saves, and the Caps are putting on a considerable amount of pressure. You know, when we went away, Mike, we saw a scene as we went away to join those other games. It's John Barrett lying on his back. He crashed into the goalpost and was helped off the ice. We're not sure if he's going to be back. He's on the Capitals bench right now. But thanks to the innovation of the shorter posts that hold the goal actually in place, the net bounced off its moorings, and he doesn't seem to be hurt all that badly, but he took the net off of its post with his back. So,
Bob Carpenter now leads the way back. He'll go into the Islanders in, but he's jumped off his skates, and it's picked up left point to Stevens. He fakes a shot, moving down the board. Stevens throws to the net. Stop, rebound, Carpenter. Can he score or not? The light goes on. He did, apparently. Now a big fight breaks out with a play in front of the goal. Deneen and Franciscelli push it shot. The goal judge never turned the light on.
boy, I'll tell you what, there will be a big argument over this because as you see Rudy and Gardner going at it, now everything's breaking loose. You can see Kelly Rudy talking to Ron Hogarth. Ron Hogarth lost sight of the puck, yet did not whistle it down, apparently. I think he might uphold his goal. The goal judge finally put the puck, finally turned on his light. Bobby Carpenter, I don't believe, scored on his original shot. And that's, Kelly Rudy is incensed because I'm sure he maintains that the puck was frozen, and either Ron Hogarth did not blow the whistle or the whistle was blown and he didn't hear it. We'll have to wait for something official, but see Hogarth backing up towards the goal judge, or towards the scoring bench now, probably going to tell us what happened. Stevens moves the puck in front. Watch it, comes back to Carpenter. Now he shoots it, and everybody raises their arms, but the light does not go on here, and we can't see where the puck is. The goal judge put the light on at that point. The Capitals start to celebrate, and Lou Franciscelli says, listen, Rudy, something happened along the way here that I don't think was kosher. Now, let's take a look at it from this angle. Carpenter takes a shot. See if we can pick it up. Rudy's sprawling. There's the puck over right in the net. You can see it. Well, it looks as if it had bounced up and into the net. I'm wondering what the delay was by the goal judge. Now, we've lost sight of it now. We can only assume that it is in the net behind Kelly Rudy. At any rate, up on the scoreboard, it's 2-1. They've awarded the goal to Bobby Carpenter.
Well, Carpenter will get the goal, apparently. It's 2-1 Capitals. And the minor officials tonight working the game are from New Jersey. Franciscelli and Deneen will get minor penalties for roughing, but that's not the important thing right now.
No, and you know, there's a big screen here in the Capitol Center that everybody at home can't see, so we work off of our monitor as well as this big screen sometimes. Another view came up on the big screen of that goal, and we could see it actually go into the net. I'm just wondering what took the goal judge so long. Hogarth seemed to know it was in, and the argument, I guess, was just over the fracas after the fact.
Now a fight's breaking out. Gilbert is going to go with Kevin Hatcher at center. Hatcher and Greg Gilbert.
Ooh. Watch this big kid go. Look at the big 19-year-old. That kid's 19 years old.
Here they all come.
Now everybody jumps into it. LaFontaine, little Pat LaFontaine dumped somebody, and there's a scrum line if I ever saw one. Only two players standing. Now there's still only two players standing. Hatcher is back up, so is Gilbert. The original combatants, everybody else is on their knees or on their back.
Well, they jumped in to try and help Greg Gilbert, I believe. The Islanders did, and Hatcher, who is 6'4", 207. He actually boxed at the same gym as Thomas Hearns in Detroit, is where he's from.
I'll tell you.
And he is not a young guy that you want to fool around with.
You won't see any one of these guys on either team take a backward step. There is so much animosity because of the playoff losses that the Capitals have suffered to the Islanders in the last 3 years. And boy, you know when sparks start flying that everything's going to break loose. See Pat Flatley there arguing about something. Now here's a face-off right after the goal. It didn't take long for the Islanders to respond to that goal. Here's Hatcher. Oh, well, it looked as if Gilbert was going to take him out of the play, and Hatcher was actually the aggressor. Look at him. Boy, is he roughing up Greg Gilbert. Man, big
Flatley will go as the third man in the altercation, I believe. And we'll recap everything for you and tell you what's been happening there. In a moment, the score, Washington 2, the Islanders 1.
You're growing, America, and so are your copying needs. That's why Konicka's Royal Copiers are built tough, with all the features you demand for future growth. Zoom magnification reduction, double-sided copying, electronic editing, and more. For challenges as big as tomorrow, Konica offers a complete line of rugged Royal Copiers backed by nationwide service. You demand productivity. With Konicka's Royal Copiers, you get it. Tough customers, tough copiers.
At the form of Montreal, the Canadiens are on the board. Watch Bobby Smith in the slot. Canadiens on the power play. They're passing around the boards, and all of a sudden, number 15 with the puck shoots the quick shot, and he beats Pat Riggin. Montreal leads it 1-0. Meanwhile, in Chicago, the Blackhawks have tied up the Toronto Maple Leafs. Doug Wilson, who's had a great second half of the season, cruises in, fires from just inside the blue line. Toronto and Chicago are tied at 1. Let's go back to Washington and check in on the mayhem with Mike Lang.
Well, they're sorting things out here at the Capitol Center. We'll have the announcement of the penalties shortly. But right now, let's join Jim Kelly.
Mike, I just want to recap a little bit what the controversy about the Capitals goal was all about. Kelly Hrudey was complaining because Mike Gardner was in the crease, but Gardner was pushed in by Murrow, the New York Islander defenseman, so that's why Hogarth allowed the goal. But that's what Hrudey was so upset about when he bounded up like a jack-in-the-box. Gardner actually took him out of the crease when the goal was scored. So it's 2-1 Capitals, and now we've got to sort out those penalties. But that's what happened.
Well, it's tough to get a look here at who is in the penalty box from our vantage point. We'll just have to wait for the announcement to come up. 11:52, the time of the penalties. Well, we know Greg Gilbert will be going in along with Kevin Hatcher.
And the scene that we're seeing now is not the respective benches, but the penalty boxes. Full of Capitals on one side and just about full of Islanders on the other side. What do we got in there? 4 Islanders at least. It looks like, gee, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Capitals. Take a look over at the Islanders bench from here. I see 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 guys, including Billy Smith over on that bench. So they're getting close to being evenly dispersed between the penalty box and
well, apparently everybody that was on the ice drew penalty time.
And rightly so. I mean, there was a pile-up. There was a mile wide with everybody involved.
Here are the penalties for New York. Number 33, Steve Conroy, 2 minutes for roughing. Number 17, Greg Gilbert, 2 minutes for high sticking. Number 3, Tomas Johnson, 2 minutes for roughing. Number 26, Patrick Flatley, game misconduct, third man in. For the Capitals, number 4, Kevin Hatcher, 2 minutes high sticking. Number 18, Craig Laughlin, 2 minutes roughing. Number 15, Alan Howarth, 2 minutes roughing. Time of the penalties, 11:52.
You've got all the penalties. They're back at equal strength, so it doesn't affect the play of the ice. And here's Bob Gould coming in. He'll take a slap shot. Randy Boyd blocked that.
33.
And it is controlled by Richard Craw. 2-1 the score, the Capitals lead. Duchesne puts one on the net. The rebound comes in front, and Gould can't direct it home. Now the Capitals of the team back into momentum, starting to take it to the Islanders.
Christian, left point to Langway. He shoots one to flick in, and it's stopped at the right leg of Kelly Rudy. That one will not get by him as Duchesne is hammered right on top of Kelly Rudy.
Boy, Rudy made a great save. The puck came from Langway at the point, and who was right there but Gaetan Duchesne? I think he probably has 4 or 5 shots. We'll have to wait for something official after the period, but boy, Duchesne is Johnny on the spot. Let's go down to Jim Kelly for a recap on some other scores.
Right in front of us, Mike Lang, Kelly Rudy is incensed, and there's Captain Dennis Potvin screaming at referee Ron Hogarth about the fact that Rudy was upended, but it was Boyd, the Islander defenseman, that actually pushed Christensen down. 1-1. Hartford tied up with Quebec. That's in the second period. Boston and Montreal, 0-0, also in the second. The Bruins have only won 2 of 18 series they've played against the Canadiens. The Rangers with that surprising 4-2 lead against the Flyers, also in the second period of play. Toronto, a big 1-0 lead against Chicago in the stadium in the Windy City. And the St. Louis Blues of Jacques Lemaire up against Lorne Henning's North Stars, 0-0 at the Met in Minnesota in the second.
We are going to get a penalty here called against the New York Islanders.
Gosh, what an error of discipline, Mike. Kelly Rudy has just been assessed a 2-minute unsportsmanlike. I'm assuming that that's what it was, but it looked like it from here. Let's hear it. Rudy,
unsportsmanlike
2 minutes
conduct.
unsportsmanlike, and let me tell you something. It's 2-1 in favor of the Capitals. 7 minutes to go in the second period. Such an undisciplined move. That is the kind of thing that will lose a series for you. It's a silly, silly penalty, and it was just something that he was unable to contain. But I'll tell you what, it takes about 3 seconds after you're assessed a penalty like that before you realize, oh boy, what have I done? And Kelly Rudy has put his team potentially in a big hole here.
And just to update you on that Montreal-Boston game, Montreal leads Boston 1-0. That's going to be a battle there. 2-1 the Capitals lead here, and Rudy gets the penalty. Let's see who serves it.
Let's see if there's room for anybody to serve it, I guess, is a question at this point. And you know, when there's so many people in the penalty box at this time, Mike, the game can go any way. All patterns of the game, I think you can say, are white clean. The slate is white clean, and you start again because lines are broken up, everything's irregular, defense pairings are different, and so often a game can shift and do a complete 180. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Here in Washington, it's the Capitals 2 and the Islanders 1.
Summer in the city, back of my neck feeling dirty and pretty. Feels so good, so good. Come down, set it up, flashing on the bus, pouring cool and clear on everyone. Set it up, feels so good. Coming down, feels so good.
In Washington, the Capitals lead the Islanders 2-1. Let's go up to the Forum in Montreal, where the Canadiens lead their ancient rivals, the Bruins, 1-0, and join Dick Gervin and Harry Neal.
Boston on the power play. They trail 1-0. Peterson to Linzman in the Canadian zone. Back to Barry Peterson over his stick. And Carbonneau has broken his stick. Puck comes for Facine, hits the outside of the post. Third goal post we've seen in this second period. Borka drive that deflects wide. Chelios in the corner, falls down. He's on top of the puck, and look out. We get Carbonneau. Is that Charlie Simmer who's upset?
Carbonneau gave him a shot from behind.
Still 1-0 in Montreal. We'll return later. Now let's go back to the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, where the Islanders trail the Washington Capitals 2-1. Here's Mike Lang and Bill Clement.
Power play chance here for the Washington Capitals with 1:39 to go, and the penalty to Kelly Rudy. Dwayne Sutter of the Islanders wanted to serve the penalty. Potvin after it. Well, a goal here for the Capitals would be a big one.
Ooh.
Now Mike Gardner controls. Carpenter came up with a big one to give them the lead. Right side to Larry Murphy. A shot hit the post. Rebound. Rudy says no, and he holds it right there.
And talk about reflexes, cat-like Kelly Rudy. He had to turn around. He did a complete spin back towards the net to where he is right now. He reacted so quickly to that. He missed the first shot. Now the puck goes over to Murphy. You can't see him. And the shot will come and hit the post to the right of the post that's actually on the right to us. We should be able to see it from here with a super slow-mo. Watch for it.
It's underneath Rudy.
There it is, right off the post. Now watch him spring around. He actually... I lost sight of it there for a second. I don't think he did, though. He knew it was under him, and the best way to stop things and get a hold of the matter right there was to just lie down on top of it. But good eyesight. He's got a mask that gives him good visibility. You know, certain masks give better visibility. You can see that his is cut out at the bottom. He has mesh. Now, the one-piece masks still don't give the visibilities that those cages do, although certain goalies still prefer that solid porcelain-type looking mask at least. It's hardly porcelain, but it looks like porcelain. It's more fiberglass.
Well, Bob Carpenter, along with Mike Gardner and Jorgen Pettersson on the power play with 1:20 to go. The punt man able to take that puck and find some open ice and take the heat out of a hot kitchen, which is really built up here in the Islanders zone. Scott Stevens and Larry Murphy work the point. Murphy's been a big goal scorer, 21 on the regular season. And he shoots it in. Boyd looks for somewhere to go with it. Bumped on the play neatly there by Carpenter. And it's worked over the glass and into the crowd. Well, Carpenter. Now they're battling it.
The Islanders and Capitals. It's a 2-1 game. Meanwhile, the Colisée in Quebec. It's 1-1 Hartford in Quebec. The Nordiques on the power play. Here's Rick Peckham.
The return pass, and Tippett anticipated that one well. Davey cuts back with Jarvis. And the Whalers off to an excellent start in killing off this Quebec power play. They had the final minute 18 if they needed it with a man advantage in this period. 24 seconds to go in the period. Siltanen takes the shot. Save by Beaulieu. Rebound comes down to Tippett, and he'll sweep it out through center. 12 seconds to go. Both teams making end-of-period changes here. Peter Stastny trailed by Quenneville. Goulet bounced it off the shin pads of Patrick. Gavin waits and now sends it by Mulder as the siren sounds, ending the second period.
And so after 2 periods of play in Quebec, a tight one. The Whalers and Nordiques tied at 1. Now let's go back to the Capitol Center, Landover, Maryland. It is still Washington 2, the Islanders 1.
Remember when you were a little girl or boy and your mother or father used to make you fresh, delicious sandwiches until you got that station wagon? Give me a break! I'm not in the mood for sour food. Give me the fresh alternative. I'm in the Subway mood. Subway Sub Shop, the fresh alternative.
Fort Wayne, where America works. An all-America city that wants to become even better. This is your city, and we're asking you to help put the polish back on Fort Wayne. Your turn to shine will come the week of April 21st through the 27th. A week-long fix-up, clean-up, paint-up effort will be taking place throughout the city. Individuals, organizations, and businesses are encouraged to participate in Working Wonders Week. Call the Volunteer Connection at 420-HAND. Take pride in Fort Wayne, where America works.
So they know all of the little quirks about the building, and they'll take advantage of them if they can.
Dwayne Sutter is back on here now, and the Islanders back to full strength. But that one's off a stick and right up into the ground here. All right, they're battling the Hawks and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Let's join Tom Mees.
They sure are battling, Mike Lang. Chicago Stadium and the Toronto Maple Leafs continue to give the Chicago Blackhawks fits. Their excellent rookie, Wendell Clark, Calder Trophy candidate, shoots and scores, beats Bob Sauvé. It's the Leafs up 2-1, now back to Washington.
Well, Wendell Clark enjoying a big rookie season. He had 34 to lead everybody on the regular season, and now picks up one in the playoff game against Chicago tonight. Boy, he's a tough youngster, too. Didn't have a lot of assists, but he's going to be a good one.
Here's a look at that shot that went around the glass, and it hit the rib. Look how close that came. Now, if one of the Capitals had been there, that would have been about like a 4-inch tap-in, wouldn't it, in golf?
That's kind of a goal that just breaks your heart, though, too, if you're in the opposition.
Oh.
A 2-1 game, I mean, you're saying, what's going on here?
Yeah, that's the kind of goal that can really put you behind the A-ball emotionally.
The Sutter brothers are on with Brett Sutter and Dwayne, along with Bob Bourne. Brett Sutter, the younger of the two, and Langway handles the faceoff. Comes to Boyd, though. And he wristed one that sails wide of the cage. Steve Leach moves it up. Back to center to Alan Hallworth. Hallworth, Adams, and Leach. And Adams in the corner. Potvin, so strong. He moves in on Adams. Forced him off the puck. Leach plays it off the wood. But it's now taken by Bourne and cleared. Leach was a second-round draft choice in 1984 by the Capitals. Boyd misplayed it. It comes to Hallworth. Hallworth shoots one, but Rudy had an angle on that. And I think Hallworth got hit with a stick from Boyd as he let that shot go. He's going to go to the bench. Appeared to be stunned. Back in the Capitals. Lead pass for Carpenter. And it went beyond his reach. 3:59 left in the second period. Washington 2, the Islanders 1. And Gillies tried to drag it off Fontaine. Here he comes. His son, and Peters made that stop when he holds on. He almost got that puck between his legs.
Boy, almost. He was in the right place at the right time. There's that positional play as you see another jam up. Boy, tempers are flaring, and you can bet the Sutters are in the middle of it, at least one of them. There's Dwayne with his back to us, number 12 for the Islanders. Pat LaFontaine's right in the middle of it, the little guy, and that's probably one of the reasons that big Gillies and Sutter are in there to protect the smaller players. Let's go down to Jim Kelly right now.
All right, Mike, coming up in our second intermission, we'll once again rejoin Tom Mees with more scores and highlights back in our Hockey Central from around the NHL opening round of the playoffs. More games than ever before right here on ESPN. And we hope you're enjoying that super slow-mo courtesy of ABC. You know, we talked about the strength of Dennis Potvin and Bill Clement. Both Bill Torrey and Al Arbor were talking. It's a different Dennis Potvin, a little bit more mature. You don't think of more maturity, but the things he used to do with his legs, he's now doing with his head.
Exactly. And defense is a position, Jim, where he can actually learn to do that. When your legs go up front, your career is pretty well over. I know firsthand about that. But as a defenseman, you have so much to learn position-wise and about the game that you can really last a lot longer. And that's one of the reasons why Denny Potvin is still a force. And as a matter of fact, I think we could call him, Mike, a rejuvenated force this year. He's really had an outstanding season, hasn't he?
I think he's one of the big keys in this series.
Oh, without a doubt.
Here's Bob Carpenter. Carpenter. Move it to the near corner, and Gordy Dineen looking for Clark Gillies. Ahead for LaFontaine. He can't get by Barrett. No, he got a good step to get by, but the puck's beyond his reach. LaFontaine, the smaller player. This will be an icing call against the Capitals. And we go to the Windy City again. Let's join Tom Mees.
All right, Mike Lang, we'll be back to Washington in a moment. Now let's go to loud Chicago Stadium. The Blackhawks trailed the Toronto Maple Leafs 2-1 with under a minute to go in the first period. Here's Bob Cole and Gary Dornhofer.
Here at the Chicago Stadium, 53 seconds remaining in the first period, and the Toronto Maple Leafs lead the Chicago Blackhawks by the score of 2-1. Thomas on a power play for the Maple Leafs. At 3:46, Doug Wilson with a bullet shot from the blue line that was deflected off the Leaf defenseman's stick. At 11:49, and then Wendell Clark from Courtnall at 17:22, and the Leafs lead at 2-1.
Well, with Al Secord on the lineup, Bob Pulford has juggled his lines around, sometimes using Sutter on the left side. This time he's got Watson up there.
Ken Reagan is in goal for the Maple Leafs, the 22-year-old, and the 30-year-old Bob Sauvé is in the nets for Chicago tonight. Game one of a best-of-5 Stanley Cup Series. Toronto were successful 6 out of 8 times against Chicago in the regular season. And they're leading here with 50 seconds left in the first period, 2-1. Puck to Terrien at center. He dumped it in. Chicago Blackhawks cut speeding back, and this is Savard. Savard coming in. Put on the brakes. It comes in front of the net. Watson shot. Reagan going and juggling action. A puck went high, and Reagan turned back over the
Ken Reagan looking like a wide receiver.
Under the top.
Ken Reagan looking like a wide receiver stopping that shot by the Blackhawks. It's still 2-1 Toronto. Now let's go back to Washington. The Caps and the Islanders. Caps on top 2-1.
The Capitals still with a 2-1 lead here at the Capitol Center. And we'll take a look at the action that you just missed.
Boy, you tell me that isn't super slow-mo. Everything's so nice and clear. Well, Stevens almost gets this one on the net. I think it's a little high. He gets a lot of wood on it. Rudy goes up. Oh, gee, I don't know. That might have been labeled for the corner, Mike. It looked, you know, we saw it live that it was perhaps over the net, but boy, it looked like he had that one labeled, except this time without a screen there in front.
And we're going to give you the shots on goal here in a moment. The Capitals have dominated here in the second period. They have the only goal, that by Bob Carpenter. Brent Sutter moving in, going to the left wing side. And a good check on Brent Sutter by Greg Smith. And here are the Capitals. Greg Adams. Poke it through traffic. Wound around the horn. It comes over to the near side. Hallberg trying to keep it in, and he can't. Less than 2 minutes to go. What are the shots, Billy, through the period?
Well, in the second period, Washington's out shooting the Islanders 16-6, and it's really an indication of how the play has gone, or a symptom of what's happening out here. It's overall, it's 25-14 in favor of the Capitals.
And the Islanders might be fortunate right now that they're down just by a goal. This is Bourne on the left wing. He shoots when it was deflected in. Peters going to hold it. He's not going to take a chance at all as he takes that puck with a glove hand. Well, you got to look at it that way. Rudy's played pretty well. The one goal that got by him was kind of controversial, and he argued about it, but he's kind of really kept his team in the game.
Really has played well, and just saw Bob Bourne skating out of our screen there. He and the Sutters are really going to have to be a key for the Islanders, because Bossy was so far superior statistically to any of his teammates, with the exception of Trottier, that if a team is able to shut them down, the Islanders have to say to themselves, okay, who are we going to turn to now? I think they'd really lean heavily on that Sutter line. The two Sutters and Bourne, they were so valuable for them in the playoffs
and
last year.
I don't think tonight, being honest about it, I don't think they've played as aggressively as we have seen them at times during the course of the year. And I think they'll have to pick their play up in the third period. They'll have to go to the net a little more and create some problems for Mr. Peters.
Exactly right. When you talk about them playing aggressively, they have to do it in the opposition's end. So they have to dump the puck in, shoot it on Peters, and actually drive for that net. They're not as big as a lot of guys on the ice. You know, they make it up with a lot of heart, boy. A big part of every organization that Sutters belong to is made up by the Sutters. You know, a big part of the heart of every organization that they're in. Philadelphia, St. Louis, Chicago, here in New York. How many are there anyway? About 14 Sutter brothers?
Six playing in the National Hockey League. Langley and Gillies pushing each other around pretty good.
A couple of heavyweights there.
And the linesmen step in between them, and John Barrett comes over.
Well,
I'm not sure why Barrett. I think both men are capable of handling themselves.
Well, Gillies actually had Langway's head sort of in a partial Nelson there under his arm, and two helmetless giants facing one another.
Just a minute and 20 seconds to go. Well, there are 17 players, if I'm not mistaken, now left in the National Hockey League, and I'm not going to name them all, that do not wear a helmet. To the 400 plus, that's a pretty good percentage now that have gone to wearing the headgear.
Well, it's mandatory for anybody that comes into the league now, so it's a vanishing, you know, it's a dying breed, the helmetless players, so within a few years they'll all be gone.
How long do you think before the shield becomes part of the everyday wear?
Gosh, it's hard to say. You know, I think they're going to leave that optional for quite some time now.
Capitals lead 2-1. Late here in period number 2, and Mark Gillies leads the rush back for the Islanders. They force it around for LaFontaine. He can't get to it. Here's Gillies with a solid check on Greg Smith. And it's center right. There was a play there where Smith had to pay the price to get the puck out. He might have known the check was coming, but he did pay the price. Back again to Capitals territory. Francis Gillies beating cross rink for Jorgen Pettersson. Now Murphy sets the play up on an offside call against the Capitals. Well, Gaetan Duchesne and Bob Carpenter have been the goal scorers for the Capitals, and Clark Gillies has the only tally for the Islanders.
You know, Mike, in our open, we made a big deal about the Capitals' injuries, and we have to mention that they really threw a curve at us, because we were under the impression, according to most of the people that we spoke to early this morning, that Bobby Carpenter and Mike Gardner would not be playing. They are, in fact, playing, contributing pretty well, and, you know, injuries has been the problem with the Islanders, especially last year. They were really hurting going into the year, or going into the playoffs at least. This year's a little different story. You know, the first quarter of the season, they suited up a total of 32 players, no fewer than 9 rookies. But coming down the stretch, they're pretty healthy.
Bossy just uncorked a heavy slap shot that missed. Crom runs into Scott Stevens. And the Capitals control with 27 seconds to go in the period. Duchesne comes to center. Rudy will take the puck around the goal as it was dropped in. Centering pass picked off by the Islanders. Again, just beating the puck in, trying to get Peters to handle it, it appears. Comes off the right point. Boyd shoots it around the glass behind Bossy. He can't center for Trottier. And 4 seconds remain. Here is Gould. He'll have to shoot here in a hurry. And he did, but it never got to the net. That's the end of the period. Now only a goal in the period by Bob Carpenter, a man who probably, we were told, was not supposed to play at all tonight, and we saw him walking prior to the game, but he came up with a big goal to give the Capitals the 2-1 lead. The shots on goal, 16 for the Capitals, and the Islanders finished with 7. Tom Mees will be coming back with a look at what's happening tonight in other playoff action in just a moment.
Boy, got what it takes. Full tilt, all out, holy flakes. Nothing halfway, and nothing sweet. Just a great big crunch of good whole wheat. Yeah, hey, banana, move aside. These big flakes got nothing to hide. Wheaties, Wheaties, good whole wheat. Now go tell your mama what the big boys eat.
Pro Hardware's ready for a great Pro's sale. Pro is selection and Pro's advice. Pro is service and Pro's a great price. Pro's your best value with savings like these.
A 10.5-ounce cartridge of Mako liquid nails is Pro priced at just $1.19. This Genova 5-inch by 10-foot PVC gutter section, white or brown, is only $3.99. And Tool King's tubular steel camping axe is Pro priced at only $4.99.
Come to the great Pro Hardware sale now for
Pro advice was a real good price.
see the yellow pages for your participating Pro Hardware dealer.
Give me a light. Bud Light.
If you just ask for a light beer,
Hey, can I have a light?
whoa, you never know what you'll get.
Give me a light.
Bud Light. So if you want the less filling light beer with the first name and taste, don't just ask for a light beer.
Give me a light.
Ask them to bring out their best.
Bud Light.
Bud Light. Because everything else is just a light.
Important medical news for sufferers of acid indigestion. Now, a new survey has revealed that doctors prefer the relief formula in Rolaids over the formula in Tums. Rolaids antacid medicine first consumes all the acid required to bring millions 100% relief, and then keeps on working to help keep your stomach trouble-free. Treat the pain and burn of excess stomach acid with serious medicine. Remember, doctors prefer the relief formula in Rolaids over the formula in Tums.
Hi again, everyone. I'm Tom Mees back at our ESPN hockey studios. Great hockey action all around the NHL. First round, 8 series going on tonight. Of course, after 2 periods, Bobby Carpenter's disputed goal has given the Washington Capitals a 2-1 lead over the New York Islanders. Meanwhile, up at the Forum in Montreal, the Boston Bruins are trying to solve the mystery of the Montreal Canadiens. They're not doing too well. They're trailing 3-0. Let's get a live update. Let's go to Dick Urban and Harry Neal at the Forum in Montreal.
Offensively, ever since Smith scored the first goal at 6:53 on the power play, they seem to be playing with a bit more confidence when they've got the puck. Puck in the Canadian zone for Rick Green as Carbonneau and Peterson have a little set to in front of the net. Peterson at center ice. Slager, and it's offside as Hartnell was in ahead of the play. Well, Louis Slager, as we mentioned, playing only 13 regular season games. Former Nordic, former Blue, and now with the Bruins. Face-off will be outside the Canadiens' line. We welcome the viewers who have been watching Toronto and Chicago as Peter Svoboda takes a shot here in Montreal. I'm Dick Urban in the broadcast booth at the Forum with Harry Neal. 1:12 left to play in the second period. The Canadiens, on 2 goals by Bobby Smith and 1 by Mike McPhee, all in this second period, have a 3-0 lead. And Harry, maybe for the viewers of Toronto and Chicago, from you, a quick capsule of the kind of a hockey game we've seen here.
Well, Montreal's been the better team this period, and they have 3 goals to show, and Boston was much better than Montreal in the first and got no goals. So you got the game 3-0, and this looks like quite a mountain for Boston to climb, the way their shooters are not capitalizing on good opportunities.
Montreal's rookie goaltender, Patrick Roy, was the big star in the first period. At one point, the Bruins were out shooting the Canadiens. It was 11-1. It was 7-0, I know, at one stage, and he kept them in the game. They were lucky to escape with a scoreless first period, and they have...
So 3-0, the Montreal Canadiens continue to lead the Boston Bruins. Hey, the Edmonton Oilers are all flying. Glenn Anderson has scored less than a minute into their game against the Vancouver Canucks. We'll have scores and highlights around the NHL on the road to the Cup on ESPN. Back in a moment.
I'm Charles Schwab. Over 1 million investors who make their own investment decisions trade with us. Here are a few reasons why.
Bill, I got some advice for you. It won't help your golf game, but it'll do wonders for your wallet.
I'm listening, Jay.
I've been buying and selling stock through Charles Schwab.
Schwab, he's a discount broker.
Right. I've been saving 50, 60, sometimes over 70% on commissions.
Well, I've heard of Schwab, but frankly, I've wondered what kind of service I might get from a discount broker.
Schwab will surprise you. I've never had better service or faster trade executions anywhere. And, of course, there's no sales pressure.
Well, good. I hate sales calls, and I like to save money. Schwab sounds like my kind of broker.
For a free booklet on how you can save up to 76% on brokerage commissions, call 800-554-9000, toll-free. That's 800-554-9000. Charles Schwab, the Bank America Company. Member SIPC.
Introducing the G-Shock 5200 watch from Casio. The sports watch that's ready for action with a built-in shock absorber. It's tough, so tough, this G-Shock can take a slap in the face. And not even flinch. The G-Shock 5200, just one of Casio's water-resistant sports watches. It's one tough watch to beat.
Do you want to know everything about the NHL? You can with the NHL's own official guide and record book. It has statistics, photos, draft choices, and player information about every NHLer from 1900 to 1986. If you like your hockey, the NHL guide is for you. The guide and record book is available at any NHL game, wherever books are sold, by mail, or by calling 1-800-CHAPLAIN. To reserve your copy, send $14.95 plus $1.50 postage and handling to NHL Guide, P.O. Box 99E, Trenton, New Jersey.
Welcome back to our hockey studios, everyone. I'm Tom Mees. Got a big smile on my face. I'm sitting here watching 8 hockey games at once. This is the wildest night in hockey and the most exciting night, the first games of the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's run down the scoreboard for you and some highlights as well. Le Colisée in Quebec. The Nordiques and the Hartford Whalers have just started the third period. They're tied at 1. Michel Goulet behind the net for Quebec to Anton Stastny gave the Nordiques a 1-0 lead. But Mike Liut has come up big in goal for the Hartford Whalers, making a great save here, robbing Michel Goulet. Now, it's Liut again, coming up big against Goulet. Goulet right in front, and Liut goes down and makes a beautiful pad save. Then less than a minute to go in the first period. Number 12, Dean Everson right there with the puck shoots and scores, beating Clint Malarchuk. And they're now just starting the third period at Le Colisée. Hartford looking for the upset, and Quebec tied at 1. Now, as far as the Boston Bruins and the Montreal Canadiens go, well, Boston hasn't beaten the Canadiens in the playoffs since 1943, and at least off tonight's results, it doesn't look like it's going to change. In the first period at the Forum in Montreal, we'll pick it up with a score of Boston 0 and Montreal 0. Rookie Patrick Roy has been sensational at times in the net for Montreal. Makes a great save here on Reed Larson, who can really blast the puck. A glove save and a beauty to keep the game scoreless. In the second period, still no score. About 7 minutes in, Matt Snaslin to Bobby Smith in the slot to make it 1-0. Then, later on in the second period, Ray Bork takes a hard slap shot from the point and scores, but penalties on Keith Crowder and Brian Scriddlin nullify the goal. They waved off that goal. Smith has scored again. Mike McPhee has scored. And so Montreal, after 2 periods, leads Boston 3-0. That is at the Forum in Montreal. The biggest upset of the night brewing between the Rangers and the Flyers. The Rangers are totally outskating Philadelphia. In the first period, we're tied at 1. Watch now on a breakaway situation. Short-handed, the Rangers were. Bobby Brook would score eventually on a breakaway. Here goes Bobby Brook. Off the right board, shoots and scores. Then Philadelphia's Dave Pullen comes back with a goal on the power play in front. This goal made it Philadelphia 2, the Rangers 2. Mike Ridley has scored twice tonight. He made it 3-2. And Ron Greschner makes it 4-2. And the New York Rangers lead the Philadelphia Flyers 4-2. That game is nearing the third period of play at the Spectrum in Philadelphia. Toronto and Chicago. The Maple Leafs won 6 out of 8 from the Blackhawks this year, even though they had a much worse record. They only won 25 games all year. And the Maple Leafs broke out on top of this game at Chicago Stadium. Steve Thomas would score on the power play, and then they got a later goal from Wendell Clark, and they lead the Blackhawks 2-1 at the end of the first period in that game. Meanwhile, St. Louis and Minnesota are just beginning the second period at the Met Center in Bloomington, where we'll be tomorrow night for a live game. There is no score to tell you about there. Vancouver and Edmonton. Glenn Anderson has scored in the first minute of the game, and Edmonton has just scored again, so the Oilers lead it by a score of 2-0. Winnipeg skating against Calgary tonight also. There is no score, as far as we understand, in the first period of that one. Our game from the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland, is 2-1 in favor of the Washington Capitals on a goal by Bobby Carpenter, a disputed goal. They lead the New York Islanders. Now, I just told you a moment ago, in the second period at Minnesota, there is no score between the St. Louis Blues and the Minnesota North Stars. We understand that there is a goal in that game, so let's go out to the Met Center in Bloomington Dan Kelly and Ken Wilson are standing by to call the action. Let's go to to Minnesota for second period action.
Came to the point, and Norwood moving in, put it into the top corner. Lee Norwood giving St. Louis a 1-0 lead here early in the second period.
The goal comes just before the 5-minute mark of period 2. The Blues in the opening period outshot Minnesota 9-3. Now McKegney of the North Stars is shot. And that goes into the crowd as Flett ties up LaValle behind the net. And the players will come together. They all charge in this contest. It has not been all that physical. Early in the first period, Willie Flett and Blues captain Brian Sutter got together and each got 7 minutes in penalties. And early in the second period, Bourgeois, the Blues, and McKegney of the North Stars mixed it up and each picked up 2-minute minors. This is the most serious altercation thus far.
Well, it's Lee Norwood who seems to be the center of attention from Willie Flett. I think also McKegney was in there. Mark Hunter has a hold of Gord Roberts of Minnesota. So we had a fight between Flett and Sutter back in the first period, but it was a mild skirmish. And this is the first real outbreak, and again Willie Flett comes over. And it seems to be Lee Norwood that he's venting his anger on. By the way, the Blues just scored on a good drop pass from Hunter. It came to Norwood, who moved up from his spot and picked the top corner. And the Blues lead it 1-0. Hunter.
So the road team, the Blues, lead it 1-0. From the looks of things, referee Ron Fournier going to have his hands full controlling what is turning out to be a very emotional game. Now in Edmonton, the Oilers are making no mistake establishing superiority. In the first 38 seconds, Glenn Anderson, number 9, would score for Edmonton. There he is, just to the left of goaltender Richard Brodeur, fakes, then shoots and scores to make it 1-0. And just a couple of minutes later on the power play, Paul Coffey, who broke Bobby Orr's record for goals by defenseman this year, number 7, gets the puck back at the point, shoots, it goes in off the leg of a Vancouver defenseman, but it counts in the first period. The Oilers lead the Vancouver Canucks by a score of 2-0. And we'll recap some more of our Stanley Cup first-round action as there are 8 games going on around the National Hockey League simultaneously right now. We'll be back with more on the road to the Cup in just a moment.
Playing Major League Baseball keeps me pretty busy. Even when I'm not in the action, I keep up with the action. That's why I read the sporting news. Nobody gets you into the game like the sporting news. The ins, the outs, who's hot at the plate, who's swinging like a rusty gate, who's breaking, who's aching, and which teams are shaking it up around the league. More baseball coverage than your local paper and all other sports weeklies and monthlies combined. I'm serious about sports, and that's why I read the sporting news. And here's how you can save some serious money when you sign on for a special half-price offer now.
You'll get 36 issues of the sporting news for 1/2 the regular subscription price. You'll also get the football and basketball preview issues at no extra cost. All for 3 easy installments of only $5.99. So call now, toll-free, 1-800-592-6000.
The sporting news, it's terrific.
Hi, everybody. Larry Burnett here in the ESPN Sports Center newsroom. Hard to believe, but there are some other things going on besides hockey tonight. Let's take a look at one game that is going on right now in the National Basketball Association, Boston at New Jersey in the NBA. That game now in the 4th period, and New Jersey surprisingly on top of Boston by the score of 106-98. Now, there is also baseball. This is the first week of baseball season. Let's take a look at some games in progress tonight. First, in the National League, Philadelphia and Cincinnati are all tied up. That game is in the 10th inning. Eric Davis, the only home run in that game, that for Cincinnati, back in the 1st inning. San Francisco and Houston, it is the Giants on top of that game, 2-0. That one is in the 4th. Now, in the American League, 2 games on tap as well tonight. Kansas City leading the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. That one's in the 7th inning. George Brett with 2 home runs in that one for the Royals. And Toronto and Texas are scoreless. That one is in the 2nd inning. And the Toronto Blue Jays put Bill Caudle on the disabled list today for 15 days. He's got a bum shoulder. More hockey coming up. I'm Larry Burnett in the Sports Center. Chris Berman and I will be back with Sports Center at 11:30 Eastern Time.
This Boston Marathon moment is brought to you by John Hancock Financial Services.
The 1985 wheelchair field of competitors was a strong one, with 2 former Boston Marathon champions on hand. 1984 winner Andre Vigier of Canada was a favorite, as was 1978 winner George Murray. This would be Murray's day, as he clocked a course, American, and world wheelchair record performance of 1:45:34.
Man, that gas bill last month was a real choker.
You're not kidding.
How's work going?
Real good. You're the one that's jumping on me.
You hear any good jokes?
No.
Too bad, these boys would love to hear them. Hey, boys! Get smart.
A good workout keeps me in shape, but it also makes me pretty sore. You know what I use to take care of those sore, aching muscles and joints? Myoflex analgesic cream. It's fast, it's effective. And with Myoflex, there's no burning, no grease, no odor, so I don't smell like a locker room. Oh, and another thing. For the 6th year in a row, Myoflex has been recommended by more pharmacists than any other pain relief rub. Myoflex. I should know.
Important medical news for sufferers of acid indigestion. Now, a new survey has revealed that doctors prefer the relief formula in Rolaids over the formula in Tums. Rolaids antacid medicine first consumes all the acid required to bring millions 100% relief, and then keeps on working to help keep your stomach trouble-free. Treat the pain and burn of excess stomach acid with serious medicine. Remember, doctors prefer the relief formula in Rolaids over the formula in Tums.
In case you tuned in late, this is night 1 on the road to the Cup here on ESPN, the first of 35 telecasts and maybe more, as we will crown another Stanley Cup champion sometime in late May. Let's get right to the scoreboard. In our first round games tonight, in the 3rd period, Hartford and Quebec are tied up at 1. Boston trails the Montreal Canadiens 3-0 after 2 periods at the Forum in Montreal. At the Spectrum, they're just ready to begin the 3rd period of play. The Rangers surprising the Flyers 4-2. Also surprised, after 1 in Chicago, the Maple Leafs lead the Blackhawks 2-1. They're in the first intermission there. St. Louis, on a goal by Lee Norwood, has taken a 1-0 lead over the Minnesota North Stars in the 2nd period. Edmonton has scored twice early on goals by Glenn Anderson and Paul Coffey to lead the Vancouver Canucks 2-0 and make that 3-0. Paul Coffey already has 2 goals in that game. Winnipeg Jets, Calgary Flames skating in Calgary. There is no score in the first period of play. In case you tuned in late, our game, the Islanders and Caps from the Capitol Center. Let's go to some of the highlights. Gaetan Duchesne. There's Dave Christian with the puck. Gets it to Duchesne in the slot. He beats Kelly Rudy. Rudy almost made a great save. Goes off his glove into the top of the net. 1-0 the Capitals lead. Still first period. Clark Gillies with a beautiful goal from Masson. Gillies swiping it out of midair past Pete Peters. Now the controversial goal. Number 10 with the puck is Bobby Carpenter on the backhand in super slow motion. It somehow eludes Kelly Rudy. The referee and the linesman confer. The goal judge was late with the light, but they said the puck did cross the goal line. Gillies and Duchesne. And it's 1-1 at the end of 1 in the 2nd period. That lone goal by Bobby Carpenter. And what a game we have for you. Our primary telecast tonight. The Washington Capitals leading it 2-1. We'll be switching around the league as developments warrant. The New York Rangers have just scored again to take a 5-2 lead on the Flyers at the Spectrum. And Vancouver has scored, and they are on the board against the Edmonton Oilers. Mike Lang is standing by with Bill Clement to bring us the 3rd and very climactic period, and maybe overtime. Who knows? Let's go to the Capitol Center. Capitals lead it, gentlemen, 2-1 over the Isles.
Well, I know Tom Mees has had a busy night.
Ooh. Guy sitting there in charge of all kinds of scores to bring us. So much going on around the National Hockey League. So many good matchups, too.
You got to look at it this way, Tommy. You can't get much worse. This is opening night. All 16 teams are involved.
That's right. By the semifinals, he'll have it slowed down
by
to
next
a wall.
week, you'll be in heaven.
Yeah.
Well, the line of Brian Trontier, Mike Bossy, and Richard Crom, they've been held pretty well in check by the Capitals, and maybe one of the keys to the difference in the game in a 1-goal lead.
Without a doubt. They've been outshot 10-4 by the Gould, Duchesne, and Christian line of the Washington Capitals. And they really have to get on track if the Islanders are going to get going here in the 3rd, especially Mike Bossy.
Trottier against Gould. And the Capitals come up with it. Duchesne sneaks it in. Potvin back to play it. The Islanders have gotten pretty good goaltending out of Kelly Rudy here in this game, especially in the 2nd period, where the Caps outshot them 16-7. Potvin leads the rush back. Trottier moves into the corner. Boy, he at times can just kind of take control of the game just by setting the tempo. He's in the near corner battling with Duchesne. And Hogarth watches. Now he'll call for the, he's going to call a delay of game penalty maybe here.
God.
He was watching that play all the way, and I think he told some people, hey, play on. Don't try and freeze it. And I think we'll get a delay of game penalty here against the Capitals.
Oh, that's unbelievable. I can't believe he's going to call that. Exactly. He is giving Gaetan Duchesne a 2-minute penalty for delay of game. That's 2 calls tonight. One for the closing the hand on Boudelier and this one on Duchesne that are, you know, penalties that are almost non-existent during the playoffs because every penalty is so crucial. And referees, the NHL officials will tell you, we would rather not make a call that determines the outcome of the game or that has an effect on it. It's 2-1 Capitals here in the third period. We've just opened, 36 seconds gone in the period, and he calls a penalty that by player standards would be called chintzy. They call it a chintzy penalty now. Brian Murray has had the odd explosion in his career, so we couldn't watch for him to break out and rip his sports jacket off and throw a minor fit here. He's got a small obstacle to overcome here at the start of the third period.
Power play chance for the New York Islanders. They're over 3 tonight on the man advantage. Here's Putman shooting one, and it just missed. Comes off the right side to Thomas Janssen. Janssen looking for Bossy in the slot. There he is, his quick shot, and Peters stopped that one. Rebound, and Bossy can't get it by Peters. Peters with a couple of good stops here. Putman in front, got a man right there. Crum, he didn't have time to tee it up. Trottier will. His shot is stopped. Peters acrobatically makes the save. Now behind the net, Murphy put it up into the crowd. Oh, hallelujah, Hollywood. Peters just outstanding in the net.
Keith Peters being asked to do all kinds of things and coming through. The biggest save he made was a 6 save on Bossy beside the net, but about 3 or 4 point blank. He really held his ground well. He's off his feet now. Langway dives for the puck. Trottier shoots. Look where Peters is, right in the middle of the net as Bossy tries to get him out of there. He's off his feet again, but gosh, a series of 2 or 3 saves in there that really came up big for the Washington Capitals. Kelly Rudy has done it before that for the Islanders at that end. Watch Bossy with his back right against them. He shoves Langway. Peters gets that one. Puck comes back in front. Peters, that positional goaltending style, right in the middle of those 2 pipes, makes that save. Right out there to get his foot on it again as Trottier backhanded it.
Boy, is that some great camera work there. Trottier against Langway. Right point, it comes to Janssen. He'll look for Putman. Got him on the left side. He'll skate in deep. Good center and cleared neatly by Bob Gould.
Oh, what a penalty killer Bobby Gould is. Great defensive player, great team guy. Really had an outstanding game tonight so far, too, along with Duchesne and Christian, his line mates.
Bossy leads it up to Trottier. Looks back for Croft. And to the corner for Trottier. Hit on a good clean check by Greg Smith. And the Capitals have the puck. And again they clear.
Oh, make it look routine now.
Bossy finds Putman with 55 to go. In the penalty. This is Gaetan Duchesne, who went out for delay of game. Christian shorthanded. The Capitals had 13 shorthanded goals on the year, a new team record. The Islanders gave up 9 while scoring only 4. Brent Sutter on the power play now. He skates over. Unmolested. Look out, his shot, and it's off the glove of Peters.
Saved by Peters.
They let Brent Sutter go on that slide. Now behind the net. Here's Bourne. In front, Bossy's there. He can't pull the trigger. Boudelier will, and he missed the goal. Action behind. Peters picked up by Bourne there. Boudelier, he centers and went right by Janssen.
Oh, lucky bounce for the Capitals on that one. The Islanders really have them on the ropes running around and tired, too, as they make wholesale changes on the fly.
9 seconds on the penalty. The Capitals will get a lift if they kill this one, and they will get it back to center. That should do it. Boyd going to Boudelier. Now Bourne and Langway battle one another. And the whistle sounds. We've got an offside play here. Penalty has expired. The score here in Washington. The Capitals 2. The Islanders 1.
There's a sporty vehicle that offers you so much variety, it fits right in with today's active lifestyle. The tough Ford Bronco 2. It's a hit with the jet set, and the wet set, the trail set, and the sail set, the tow set, the snow set, the angler set, and the Wrangler set. Ford Bronco 2, around town or up in the mountains. You know it's built tough.
Get 9.9% financing on new Ford Bronco 2s.
Bill and Mike, I was down by the Capitals and Islanders dressing room talking with General Manager Bill Torrey. There was some concern in the New York camp that Paul Flatley, because of his third man in and the ejection, might be suspended from tomorrow night's game. That is not the case. Flatley will be able to play, but the New York camp was very concerned.
Well, a 2-1 hockey game right now here in the third. And a reminder to you that if they end tied at the end of regulation, we would go to sudden-death overtime, but not the usual 5 minutes that's in progress during the regular season. It would be a full period. And then if they did not score in that, they would break and go for another intermission and come back and start a second overtime period. But that's a long way off. Capitals lead 2-1. Langway finding Francischetti. The Capitals, who are at home this year, 30 wins, 8 losses, and 2 ties. An excellent record. Dwayne Sutter moving in. His wrist shot, and he missed by inches on that net. Peters takes it off the boards, and he will cover.
Well, I'm not sure that Pete Peters really had a good beat on that shot. It looked like it might have nicked his pad. Oh, Mike, what Jim Kelly was mentioning about Pat Flatley, you know, he missed the playoffs last year along with Greg Gilbert, and those two big wingers were really missed by the Islanders, and consensus was that had they had both of those players in the playoffs last year, they probably would have done better than they did. So with Flatley being cleared to play tomorrow night, or with at least that question being resolved, I'm sure it's a load off General Manager Bill Torrey's mind. They really need those big wingers.
Well, tomorrow night, Stanley Cup action continues when the Minnesota North Stars host the St. Louis Blues. The Blues are leading in that game 1-0 in game number 1. And that'll be an 8:30 broadcast time, Eastern time. Ken Wilson, along with Mickey Redmond, and our own Jim Kelly will be there. This one has the Capitals in front by a goal. Trottier joined again by Richard Crom and Mike Bossy. Would you think that Al Arbour might entertain the thought of making a change on the left wing with Crom out here? Or do you think he'll stay with that, or changing troops around here in this third period? It's been a pretty close game.
Oh, sure it has. I don't think that Crom is going to be the key to that line. You know, he is the lesser of the three lights with Brian Trottier and Mike Bossy there, and I doubt that that would make a difference. Al Arbour probably would spot that. He might try and separate Bossy and Trottier, but you know, they're almost like twins. They're best of friends off the ice. They really play in sync with one another on the ice, and I think, you know, they have come through for him so many times that I don't think he's going to panic and break them up just yet.
Baudelaire swings one right on goal, and Peters, who appears to be getting sharper as the game goes on here, made that stop. Carpenter hit by Crom around the left side, and Duchesne. They can't get it out. Crom looking for Bossy. He was pulled down by Duchesne. No penalty called. Deflection by Trottier. Just went wide of the glove hand of Peters. And the Capitals have struggled there on that shift to get the puck out of their own end. Baudelaire winds it up, and now it's the Islanders with momentum. And we've got an offside play. We've got some scores around the NHL, and let's join Jim Kelly.
Big night as we're tracking all the games, of course, with Tom Mees with highlights. We've got Hartford and Quebec knotted up 1-1. That's in the third. Also in the third, the Flying Frenchmen all over Boston 3-0. The Rangers now, surprising score, a 5-2 lead against the Philadelphia Flyers at the Spectrum. Toronto clinging to that 2-1 lead against the Chicago Blackhawks in Chicago. St. Louis has scored. They're out in front of the North Stars 1-0 in the second in Minnesota. Edmonton leading the Canucks 2-1. And that's in the first. And Winnipeg and Calgary and Winnipeg 0-0. Update on that Rangers score. It is now the New York Rangers 6 and Bill Clement's old Philadelphia Flyers 2. How about that one, Willie?
Oh, that's a long time ago when you say the old Bill Clement's old Philadelphia Flyers. That was years ago.
Putman freezes the puck, and the fans want to delay a game penalty against them. You know, in that game, we talked about it at the outset, at the open of our telecast, the fact that the Capitals will be let down a little bit, not winning the championship, the Patrick Division on Sunday. Right. But here were the Flyers so confident. They came in and won back-to-back games over the weekend to solidify that top spot. They might have been a little too overconfident and might have reached that high plateau, and it might be tough coming back tonight, and it has been.
Well, you know, that race for the first place, even though they won the race itself is taxing. I think the ultimate result would probably be a little harder on the Capitals, but they had a lot of strain going down the stretch too, didn't they? And then they went and they actually accomplished what they wanted. They finished in first place, and they drew the New York Rangers as opposed to drawing the New York Islanders. And sure, they all of a sudden got a little complacent and got a little fat. Now they're down 6-2, just like that.
Well, it's a 5-game series. And that one's not over yet. So don't count it out. We've seen stranger things happen.
To coin an old cliche.
Yeah.
Not that you're never out of it when you're a member of the Flyers. They just keep on playing. They're just like a machine.
Spectrum, there's a deflection on Boyd's stick. Rudy watched it go around the goal. Now Brent Sutter directs it into the Capitals' end. 2-1. Washington leading with 15:29. Loose puck in front. And the Capitals get it out of danger. And it'll be Laughlin coming back 2-on-2. He's got a man on the left wing now, Hallworth. He shoots it to the net, and Rudy caught that in midair and held on. Well, that shot, if it had been down a little bit, he might have had an opportunity for a rebound play, but he got it up as he tried to work it to the goal.
And it came off of a play at the other end where a puck almost squeezed in between Pete Peters and the post. Clark Gillies trying one of those low percentage plays at the other end. The play comes down to the Islanders' end, and here's a lofting shot at the net that Rudy has absolutely no problem with at all.
I wonder if that one hit Buntvan as he tried to move it in. I don't know if it did. I'm not sure.
Well, we'll take a look at it. Super slow-mo. Well, you can see it all. I wish I'd had a little super slow-mo camera in my back of my head when I was playing so that things wouldn't have been such a blur of colors out there. You know, the difference between the great players and the also-rans, or the grinders, is that the great players see everything very clearly out there. And the most of us, when we play, it was a blur of colors. You know, you just have to hope that you're doing the right thing at the right time.
Here's Franceschetti with a heavy check in the Islanders' end on Thomas Johnson. Johnson cross-checking. He'll get a penalty for it. Cross-checking against Thomas Johnson. He was checked heavily, and the Islanders will be short-handed. Here at the Capitol Center, Washington 2, the Islanders 1.
Some copier companies make televisions. Mita doesn't. Some make clock radios. Mita wouldn't hear of it. You see, we believe the best way to make better copiers is to make nothing but copiers. A philosophy that's helped me to create some of the most remarkable copiers anywhere. After all, we didn't get to be the fastest growing copier company by making cameras. Mita, all we make are great copiers. Call 1-800-ABC-MITA.
At Quebec City, Kevin Denis of the Hartford Whalers. Number 11 with the puck. He'll take the shot from the blue line. John Anderson, the former Nordique, is there to deflect it in. Hartford leads Quebec 2-1. Midway through the third period, now back to Washington.
And the Whalers keep rolling right along. They've got the lead over Quebec in the third period. Hartford with the 2-1 lead over Quebec, and Mike Fossey coming back. Right now, the Islanders are short-handed. A penalty to Thomas Johnson, a cross-checking call. And the Capitals will take a peek, big two-goal edge here if they can score on this power play with a man advantage. Larry Murphy. Rudy will stop it behind the goal. To Kim Morrow, and a good play by Stevens to hold it in. Stevens looking for Murphy. He can shoot it. Goes back to Stevens. Walks in. He's there. A shot. And it's stopped in front. I think it hit Laughlin to the Capitals. Fossey trying to golf it out. Can't do it. Stevens again a good play to Murphy. Slip shot. Oh, he missed the net by inches. Left point. It's all Washington now. Here's shot by Stevens and a skate stop in front. Pedersen right point to Murphy. Going to Stevens. He's going to pass it off this time. But Christian turning shot block. And that one sailed up into the seat. Oh, the Caps are really coming down.
Some great passing by the Washington Capitals. Larry Murphy, and over on the other side, Scott Stevens keying the whole power play. Some booming shots in the point, and that time Scott Stevens was right on the money, wasn't he, Mike? Take a look at the action in front of the net. There's Steve Conroy, 33, along with Ken Morrow, and man, are they roughing up Craig Laughlin in front of that Islanders net. Look at that. Oh. Boy, you pay the price when you stand there with a guy like Ken Morrow. The guy's 6'4", weighs about 215 pounds, and his job is virtually to move you out of there. And when you're intent on staying there, you know that it will not be without a price.
Well, Bobby Carpenter has been a man that has done a lot of that work in front of the power play for the Capitals. Laughlin, too. Going to get penalties coming up here. Laughlin and Morrow both go off for high sticking.
Well, that will be the, let's see, the 28th penalty, I believe, for the game. It will be the 14th to the Islanders and the 13th or 14th to Washington. Having trouble keeping track of them all. Calmed down a little bit compared to the second period, but that's a lot of penalties.
Still at 5-on-4. Murphy shooting one. The save made. The rebound right out in front. But a good read there by Brent Sutter to pick it up and sail it up ice. 59 seconds to go on the Thomas Johnson penalty. Carpenter skating like he doesn't have a bad knee at all. Here's Stevens. Feeding the puck into the left wing corner. And a heavy Heavy check by Boyd on Carpenter. They'll battle one another. Play continues. Greg Adams going to the left point to Stevens. His slap shot. In it goes! The Capitals have it. Goal, but it'll be called off. High stick on the puck. Somebody's going to go off on a penalty, I believe. I think Hogarth made a penalty call prior to the puck going in.
Well, it may have just had an effect on the puck going in the net.
That shot appeared to be low, though, Bill.
Oh, the shot was low, so he didn't signal that somebody had hit the puck with the stick over the shoulders. It couldn't have. The puck was hardly off the ice.
I think it's going to be a high stick.
Well, we'll get a chance to take a look at it here. Puck comes back to Stevens. Now, it looked to us as if the puck hugged the ice. He'll take a shot. Yep, it is low. And it just simply beat Kelly Rudy with its force, but somewhere out of the play, there's an altercation. Let's listen to it.
Greg Adams of the Capitals, 2 minutes each for high sticking at 6:13.
Adams and Boyd, coincidental minors for high sticking as we look at Rudy's attempt at stopping Scott Stevens' blast from the point. They were both sent off for high sticking, kind of an inopportune time to go off on a coincidental minor for Greg Adams. Well, there it is right there. Ron Hogarth was standing in the corner over to the right, so he had a real good view of it. You can hear the roar go up here at the Capitol Center when the score is posted up on the board between the New York Rangers and the Philadelphia Flyers. They see that 6-2 score in the third. How many Flyer lovers here in Washington are there, Mike?
Well, there's a lot of intense rivalries in the Patrick division, and this is a good one here, too. But the Capitals and Flyers battled all year long for the top spot in the division. Well, the power play remains into effect. 38 seconds left from the Johnson penalty. That's the important one. Boyd and Adams go off, high-sticking minors.
See Mike Gardner out there, number 11 for the Capitals, sore leg and all. Bobby Carpenter at center. So the two guys that were used as a psychological warfare tool against the New York Islanders are both out there. And, you know, Mike, we were both told today that both of those players would probably and most likely not be playing. So there was a definite mental game going on.
Carpenter on the play. Couldn't get it to Haworth. The puck laid outside the line, and it goes back to center. Stevens will blast the puck in. Down to 10 seconds to go on the penalty. Right point. Here's Murphy. And his shot hit a stick. Mike Gardner handles it. The penalty is now over. Johnson will come on. He's got to get out of the gate. It's hit it and deflected away to Brent Sutter. He goes to Johnson. Johnson is stopped by Larry Murphy and flipped up high in the air back to Islander territory. Well, the game remains 2-1. Here's Wayne Sutter with a shot. The rebound, he got it right back, and Peter stopped that one. The rebound went right over the crossbars. LaFontaine couldn't get it in. Gilbert now centering, but Dave Christian takes it out of danger. Christian moving in with Gould. They can't control the puck and make a play. It's back to center ice. Greg Smith, oh, is he hammered on a check by Greg Gilbert at center right. Back it comes now to Thomas Johnson. 12:23 to go in the third period, regulation time. Johnson waits for his mates to get onside. Wayne Sutter is hit by Francis Getty. The Islanders center in front. Peters didn't know where it was. It hit his skate, and now a scramble. Who will get the puck? It squirts free, and it's picked up by the Washington Capitals. Leach got it out of his own in the center. Boy, the Islanders came that close to scoring the tying goal. Peters did not know where the puck was moments ago. Langway with a good pass to Francis Getty, trying to back puck man in. That's a tough job, and he just throws it around the board.
Mike, they're not slowing down with the body either. They're just throwing their weight around more and more, it seems, as this game goes on. One thing the Washington Capitals have to be careful of is not going into a defensive shell here in the third period. Here in Washington, it's the Capitals 2 and the Islanders 1.
Welcome to Adventures in Insurance. Today we're talking to a man who lives in a treehouse.
Well, it has its ups and downs, but that'll change when I finish my tree garage.
Oh?
You see, I'm buying a car so I can save on insurance.
I don't get it.
Well, when you insure your house and your car with the Hartford, you get up to 10% off both policies.
The Hartford, the company with the moose.
No, it's a Stag.
How do you plan to get your car up there in the tree garage?
Oh, no problem. I'm getting four-wheel drive.
Year after year, you'll like doing business with the Hartford, the insurance people of ITT.
At Le Colisée in Quebec, the Nordiques push the puck up the ice. There's the pass from Stastny to Brett Ashton. It's Quebec 2, Hartford 2. That game is midway through the third period of play. In Minnesota, meanwhile, Dirk Graham, the hero for the North Stars, 21 in front, gets a beautiful pass, and he scores. And it is 1-1 there in the second period. Back to Washington.
So the North Stars tied the game against the Blues. Here's a look at Dwayne Sutter in the big action around the Washington goal.
Boy, that one caught Pete Peters up high. The hardest shot to control is the one that's up high around the chest. He not only stopped one up there, but a second one. And the trouble with those shots, well, there's a third one right under Peters' arm over the net. The tough part, Mike, about those shots that are up high is that you can't direct them. You have no control over the rebound, and you're really at the mercy of the... Oh!
Back to live action. Bobby Gould just tried the short side, and Rudy said, "You're not going to put it there." Gould again, left wing corner. To the left point to Langway. His left shot, and that stopped off the left pad of Rudy, and worked back to center ice again. Mike Bossy. Well, the Capitals with a couple of opportunities. The game opens up now. Bossy. He's weaving through traffic to Trottier. Bossy too well covered. Langway gets it, but he can't get it out. Morrow shoots one on. Didn't have much mustard behind that one, and Peters was able to grab it.
You know, Mike, the Capitals are obviously in a, at least to me, in a prevent type of defense, and they have to be careful of that. It's nice to go into that type of defense when you just dump the puck out, dump it down to the other end. But there are 11 minutes to go in the third period. They have to remember, listen, we outshot this team in the first couple of periods severely, and now in the third period, it's the New York Islanders out shooting the Washington Capitals by a margin, I think it's around 10-4, and that statistical change is an indication that the Capitals are going back into that shell. They have to remember that they have to play in the Islanders' end. It's like holding your finger in a dike. You know, you can only hold it there for so long when it's the Islanders, but they're going to have to take it down to the other end. They can't afford to play the last 10 minutes of this game in their own zone.
No, we certainly did not expect the Islanders to quit in any way, and they haven't. Here, come on strong. Here's a shot by Francis Getty, and denied by Rudy, who held his ground nicely. Randy Boyd. Played away from him. It comes to Laughlin. Look out here. Behind the net to Adams, and Potvin steps into him. Laughlin, though, with the puck to Hallworth. Hallworth, heavy slap shot, blocked by Boyd, who gave his body up, and to carry him all the way back to the neutral ice area. And now big plays become an important part of a game like this in game number one. Where you're willing to sacrifice and give your body up and blocking shots. And what happens? Because it can be every little thing that can make the difference in this hockey game. Here's Janssen. Right side to Bourne. He's in. Left it for Janssen. Turning. He has room. He goes to Gillies. He was turned around. He couldn't hold on to the puck. And here's Laughlin 3-on-2. Swinging wide. Good move there. Centers it for Hallward. But he can't shoot it. Laughlin's got it again. He's got a man on the center point. Penalty coming up here. Here's Smith shooting. And it's a puck that just wide of the glove hand of Rudy. Penalties coming up against the Islanders. They'll be shorthanded. The Capitals have pulled their goaltender. Right in the slot, picked off by Bourne. The power play goes to the Capitals. The score, the Washington Capitals 2, the New York Islanders 1.
The traditional vacation in the family car. Except one thing's changed. The family car. The new Ford Taurus. One car designed to meet all your driving needs, as well as the needs of those you're driving.
Taurus, now there's an American car that has exactly what we've been looking for. Taurus, Taurus, Taurus. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Mark Gillies, the holding minor at 10:06. Along with Bill Clement and Jim Kelly, this is Mike Lang at the Capitol Center. Well, another big chance here for the Capitals to try and add to their lead.
Well, I think it would be premature to say that if they get a goal in this power play, they could put it away, but they could certainly make life a lot easier for themselves.
They were strong in the power play chance they had before. They just could not get it by Rudy. Here's Francis Getty. Around to Bob Carpenter, and he is hit by Trottier, who worked him over. All right, Murphy from the right point, and Rudy got a glove up to make that save.
How good has Kelly Rudy's glove been tonight?
Well, I was watching Trottier and Carpenter along the boards, and Trottier really gave him a shot. And he came back with a stick on Trottier. Here's that shot.
It's Kelly Rudy's glove, left hand, always there. You know, and goalies are trained, and the ones that remember it are trained to keep their glove out there. Watch Kelly Rudy. Before the puck even comes, he has his hand up. Now he has his glove over to the side. Before that shot even came, he was ready for it. Sign of some good, very good basic goaltending, and he claims that one of the things that made him the goaltender he is reading Jacques Blanc's book on how to be a goaltender. And I'll tell you what, It's very difficult to learn something like that. If somebody just gave you a book, say, to play tennis and said, listen, learn how to play the game, it would be very difficult, wouldn't it? Jacques Plante was such a master of the basics that you could actually take that book and learn some very, very strong basics. And that's what Rudy has done, and it really shows.
Dennis Potvin able to find the opening. That takes some of the pressure off with 1:33 to go and the penalty to Clark Gillies. Scott Stevens looks for somebody open. It's Larry Murphy, but Johnson's on him. Johnson, Richard Crom killed the penalty for the Islanders and their coach Al Arbor. Conroy to Morrow back. Stevens winds his way in, lost it. And again, the Capitals have to retreat.
You see Scott Stevens shrugging his shoulders in frustration over there. You know, the one thing the big kid has to watch out for, Mike, is not trying to do too much himself. He's got 5 other guys on the ice with him, including his goaltender, who's one of the 5. So really has to make sure he makes a smart play and not try to do it all himself.
And again, he lost the puck, and he's having a tough time at times in the power play. Mike Gardner. He left it for Craig Laughlin. And it's a late offside call.
Good offside call, too, by John D'Amico. The pass came along the blue line and actually didn't cross the blue line. So it was Johnny on the spot. He's got a good eye. He's one of the senior officials. He doesn't make many mistakes.
There you took a look at Craig Laughlin. Boy, the Capitals have had some people that have really worked hard here tonight. It's been a good hockey game, to say the least, between the Islanders and the Capitals.
There's another guy that worked hard, Brent Sutter. Of course, that goes along with the Sutter genes, is that hard work ethic. Brian in St. Louis, Darryl in Chicago, the twins, Rich and Ron in Philadelphia, and Darryl and Dwayne. Here, no, Brent. There's so many of them, I'm getting them all mixed up. I have them all right except the game we're doing tonight.
Hatcher moving in. Hatcher trying to shoot it. He can't. It comes to Christian. His heavy slap shot right up on Rudy's offhand, and he held it on. Now they're playing in Quebec City. The Whalers and Nordiques. Let's go to Tom Mees.
They sure are, Mike. The Whalers and Nordiques are tied up at 2 late in the 3rd period at Le Colisée. Let's go live now to Quebec City and Rick Peckham and Don Blackburn.
Johnny had the angle on him. Paul Gillis, spring free centers, and Samuelson right on the doorstep to knock it away. From the point, Silton fences with Ron Francis. Eagles get to the Gillis. Across to Cote. He hit the goal post. Alain Cote had trouble controlling it. Picard with a shot that's wild. Silton in from the point. A diving Francis poked it out of Risto's reach. Lifted ahead to center by Kleinadorf. Picard is back with Deneen trailing. Passes angle to Eagles. Sails it into the corner. Quenneville plays it ahead for Dave Tippett. Gave it up to Anton Stastny. Samuelson will take it. 2:05 remaining in regulation. Tied at 2. As it's rolled in deep at Ashton. Checked by Tippett. And
Well, it's 2-2 tie late in the 3rd period. Now let's go to Washington.
Well, the Washington Capitals have just scored to take a 3-1 lead on a goal by Dave Christian. Dennis Potvin tried to clear, but it came right off his stick to Dave Christian, and he drilled it home.
Well, it was the culmination of a whole bunch of hard work by the Washington Capitals. Laughlin's in there deep. Now the puck is going to come over to Kelly Rudy's left, our right. That's Jorgen Pettersson. He's going to backhand it. It goes between Rudy's legs. And for a second, everybody thought that it was a goal. We're going to take a look at super slow-mo here. There's Laughlin with the puck. The puck will come over down to the bottom right part of the screen. There's Pettersson. Now watch as he backhands it right between Rudy's legs off the post. That wasn't enough, but look at that Christian right there, Johnny, on the spot. Dennis Potvin was a microsecond away from clearing the puck, but Christian beat him to it. 3-1 Capitals.
So the Capitals now with a 3-1 lead. And the penalty to the Islanders had expired 10 seconds prior to that. So Christian came on. And it's taken by the Islanders. And Johnson now with the puck going right side to Trottier. He'll skate up into the Capital zone. Trottier, penalty coming up against the Capitals. They pulled down Mike Bossy. And the Islanders will get a power play. And so, from Landover, Maryland, the score, Washington 3, New York 1.
In the Army, we do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day.
Hey, First Sergeant. Good morning.
Hey, where did you learn about computers?
In the Army.
You were in the Army, too?
Qualify for the GI Bill and the Army College Fund, and you can earn over $25,000 for college.
What you do in the Army?
Airborne.
You used to jump out of airplanes?
There's a look at Bobby Gould, who's off for holding here for the Washington Capitals. 6:55 to go in the third period. That'll give the Islanders a valuable opportunity to close that gap. It's now 3-1 Capitals. Take a look at some of the action along the far side with Rod Langway.
Well, we're back to live action. And the Islanders, you would think, with 6:45 to go in the third period, need a goal here to get back into it. Here's LaFontaine, left side to Bourne. He's got a chance. Moves in. But Peters had the angle covered neatly. Bourne couldn't get over to get to his backhand. I think that's maybe the move he should have made. LaFontaine on the right wing. To Potvin. To Janssen. Back now to Potvin. Fakes the shot. Going to Janssen again. 2-1 on. And off the right leg of Peters. LaFontaine back to Janssen. They're moving the puck well, Bill. Janssen cranks it up. Peters again stopped the rebound. LaFontaine. Peters says no, and he has it. No, he doesn't. It's loose. Snelling grabbed it and held it right there. Oh,
Peters.
I don't believe it.
Unbelievable. We talked about his positional play. Mike, other than that Gillies goal, he has been absolutely flawless here in the third period when they need him the most. Look at Pete Peters now. Watch his position right in the middle of his net. Even though he's out in front of the crease, he has the instinct to know where it is. He loses his balance on that first save. He gets up. He'll make another one. Boom off the pad. The Sutter standing right there in front of him. Now the puck will go from left to right. Watch it go through your screen left to right. There it is right under Peters' arm. What an outstanding game he's had. Both Kelly Rudy and Pete Peters have really had outstanding games. It's a 3-1 game. Could very well be 7-6, 9-8. Oh.
1:16 to go on the Bob Gould penalty. The Islanders knocking on the door right now. Trying to take advantage of a situation here where the Capitals made a mistake. And it is swung out of the Capital zone and up ice all the way to the Capitals netminder, Kelly Rudy. This will be Randy Boyd to Paul Boudelier. Trottier, Bossy, and Crom up front. Boudelier and Boyd take the point. Crom comes in. He'll get away from Langway. Good play to Trottier. Trottier put it in front for Crom. He couldn't shoot it. Larry Murphy putting pressure on. There's Duchesne again. And he takes that heat out of a hot kitchen again. And we're down to 33 seconds to go in the Bob Gould penalty. 3-1 Washington. And the Islanders stopped at the blue line one more time. Boudelier, though, will skate quickly in. And an offside call against the Islanders.
Oh, there's little action going on out there now between Boudelier and Gaetan Duchesne. You'll see a lot of these rivalries being established in this first game and being carried right through the playoff series. And they're the ongoing kind of running confrontations, one probably setting up now between Boudelier and Duchesne. And boy, they're tough rivalries when you get those independent individual rivalries. And besides the actual big picture, you get a lot of individual wars that are going on out there, battles in spite of the big war.
And you got to realize, too, Bill, that these two teams played each other 7 times in the regular season.
Yeah, they know each other very, very well.
Potvin to Thomas Janssen with 17 seconds to go in the Washington penalty. And dug out of there by LaFontaine. LaFontaine. He tried to center in front for Dwayne Sutter. Can't connect on that. And the Capitals have it, and Scott Stevens flipped it up in the air. It'll come to Dave Christian. He will get it out. And that is it. The end of the penalty to Bob Gould as he steps on board. They're at equal strength again. Under 5 minutes to go in the third period. 3-1 Washington. Greg Adams looks for room, and boy, is he being pressured by LaFontaine, but he's able to drop that puck into Islander ice. Randy Boyd trying to hurry. Boyd up left side to Gilbert. He runs into Kevin Hatcher. Those two went at it earlier in the game. Drawing major penalties. A big collision with Barrett knocking down Gilbert. And Brent Sutter comes over. The hitting has continued all night long between these two teams. It's been a classic playoff game, and the Islanders find themselves down 3-1 here in the third period with 4:07 to go. Hatcher moving the puck to Craig Laughlin. He'll be content to work it in. Going back forward to be Hallworth. Hallworth to Adams, who was hit from behind by Brent Sutter, number 21. And Conroy leads the rush back. The Islanders might have a chance here at 3-on-3. Brent Sutter right side. And he shoots it right over the head of Pete Peters. Bob Bourne looking for Clark Gillies. Gillies centers. Brent Sutter, and a Bourne. He's there. His backhander. Peters stops at the rebound. Back out to Conroy. Now to Janssen to Conroy again. Push one wide of the net. Dragged along on the near side by Brent Sutter. He walks on the goal line. Comes in. He's got the play. Can he shoot it? He does, but Peters again stops him cold. Pete Peters, big in the net. Let's go down to Jim Kelly.
All right, Mike, some excitement up in Quebec. The Whale, 2-2, going into overtime. Hartford in Quebec. Meanwhile, in Montreal, the Bruins blasted by the Canadiens 3-0. That's late in the third. The Rangers sticking it to the Flyers in Philadelphia 6-2. A huge upset there. Toronto leading the Blackhawks in Chicago. That's in the second. 1-1. The St. Louis Blues and the North Stars tied up in Minnesota. That's in the third. Edmonton leading Vancouver. That's 3-1. And Calgary now has taken a 2-1 lead against Winnipeg. You know, at the Capitals workout this morning, Bill, I asked Brian Murray exactly what it would mean early in the hockey game for some of his youngsters to be getting experience. He laughed and he said, "I'm not conducting a learning experiment. I want to win."
Well, there's no time for a learning experiment. It's only a 5-game series. So what he was saying was, listen, they're in the heat of the battle. This is not an experiment. This is not a test. Don't adjust your set. This is a real thing.
And here is Scott Stevens. He will flip it in. Islanders out here working against the Gould line. Christian, Duchesne, and Gould. Worked around to the near wing, and it's picked up by Richard Crom. Crom to Trottier. He steps in. Oh, Stevens trying to line him up with a hip check. Couldn't do that. Trottier's been around too long. Read it perfectly. Stevens with 2:20 to go in the third period. To Potvin it goes. And he can't find the net. Boyd will come in. They'll have to gamble now and start sending people in around that goal. And it's cleared away off the wood. And here comes Christian. Left wing to Duchesne. Nice play to take the pass. Right side of Christian. He's there. A shot. And Rudy got a piece of that. He read the play perfectly, did Rudy. Dwayne Sutter up. He's trying to get around Steve Leach. Knocked down by Leach. And Langwood leading up to Greg Adams. Francis Kitty. And Francis Kitty finds open space back into the Islander zone. The Rangers tonight have beaten Philadelphia 6-2 to take a 1-game lead in that best-of-5 series. And that's the big upset of the night. No question about it. 1:35 to go. And the Islanders are running out of time. They're down by 2. Kevin Hatcher spins it in. Rudy around. He can't clear. Hatcher let one go, and it went off a body.
The Islanders got to get the puck down to Washington's end now so they can get Kelly Rudy out of there. It's no use leaving him in. They want to go to the extra attacker. Let's see if they can get him pulled here. He's asking for some advice. He's slamming his stick on the ice. Now they're calling him. No, he's staying.
Johnson. Did not hold it in. It's played away. Back on the left side, Francis Getty. He's got Laughlin cutting for the net. Put it in front to him, and he can't deflect it in. A minute to go in the third period. 3-1, the Capitals have the lead. Hatcher trying to take it away from Pat LaFontaine. And Hatcher does get it to Francis Getty. He'll shoot it towards the net as Rudy had come out. This will be an icing call. Randy Boyd will touch it. We have an icing call with 41 seconds to go. And they'll bring it back into Capitals ice. And Rudy apparently will come off, and somebody will call a timeout to set up the game plan.
Boy, things are sure looking good for the Washington Capitals now. 41 seconds to go, and Kelly Rudy will finally get over to the bench as the Islanders have called a timeout to discuss their alignment here going into the final 41 seconds. Kind of a tough road. You know, they're going against one of the best defensive teams in the National Hockey League in the form of the Washington Capitals. So it's pretty dim hope, a dim light that's flickering for the Islanders at this stage of the game. 41 seconds to go with a 2-goal deficit facing them.
If they lose this game, the Islanders, they played so well in the third period, the effect of game 2 coming up tomorrow.
So difficult to say, you know. They went ahead. They lost the first 2 games last year, and when quality teams are involved, I think it's safe to say that the emotional ups and downs don't have as great an effect on them as, say, teams without the, you know, the moral fiber, if you will, running through them, that leadership and the guys that are willing to sacrifice, the guys that have been there before, the guys that have competed in the playoffs, and There's a lot of experience on both of these teams. There are a lot of young kids, but there's strong enough leadership that I don't think it'll affect the Islanders. You know, they'll forget it. They'll put it out of their minds. They're very professional about it, and they'll come out tomorrow night the same way as they did tonight. All, you know, both barrels loaded.
Oh, I was kind of thinking it might give them a lift going to the opening period tomorrow, even if they do lose. Although the Capitals are a team that, after 2 periods of play this year, have been unbelievable.
Yeah.
They're 38-2-4.
Yeah.
And when they get a lead on you, just like the Flyers, it's very, very tough to beat.
Absolutely, absolutely. But you're right. If there's one thing that the Islanders can cling to as a positive going into tomorrow night, and they will look for the positives if their third period play tonight.
Goaltender pulled, extra attacker on, and again it's played over the glass. So the 6th attacker is on here for the New York Islanders. They have an empty net.
How about Brian Murray's decision to start Pete Peters tonight, in spite of the fact that Jensen had a heck of a year? Pete Peters has played the last 4 regular season games and got the nod. He's had a lot of playoff experience. There he is in the crouch, resting, waiting for the next shot to come at him. But gosh, what a game he's had tonight. Really outstanding. Both goalies deserve pats on the back. Peters really in the third period. When he come right down to it with the game on the line, Peters has been there for every shot.
Peters is 21-20 in Stanley Cup playoff competition, a 3.34 goals against average. Not overly impressive statistics, but the Capitals really figure with the trade they made, he would really help them in the playoffs. Well, game 1 certainly has been a good enough reason to believe that trade helped them. And there is Crom going to Bossy. He shot one block. Empty net, remember. Up with it is Gould. Gould shoots it into Islander ice. Will it be an icing call? No, it's not. The Islanders have to go back. They lose it for a moment. Duchesne couldn't quite handle it. 24 to go. Duchesne slips it up behind the goal.
Good play by Duchesne, Mike. Just dumped it in behind the net instead of trying to go for that big, gaping, sure goal.
Janssen with 13 to go. Potvin trying to carry it in. He'll shoot it up around the net, and it's off the stick of Peters. 7 to go in the game. Centered in front. Here's a man right there, open as Boston. Crom can't find him. 2 seconds. Play will be stopped, though. Play will be stopped with 1 second to go in regulation time when the Capitals will take a 1-game-to-none lead over the New York Islanders in this best-of-5 series. And they did it with good, strong defensive play and some great goaltending by Pete Peters tonight.
Well, they've really played playoff hockey, haven't they, Mike? They've had everything going. Scored 3 goals against the tough defensive New York Islanders. They've played flawless defensively. Pete Peters has been there when he's been asked to be. Gaetan Duchesne, Bobby Gould, Dave Christian, what a game they've had. And getting a deserving round of applause from all of the Washington Capitals fans here in Landover. Some frustrated fans, too, wouldn't you think, after the years of coming close over the last 3 years, and say nothing of the 6 or 7 years before that when the Capitals were just atrocious. So that ends it.
Well, they dropped the puck and the game has ended. But the pushing and shoving continues here at the end of this battle between these 2 Patrick Division rivals. But hopefully cooler heads will prevail here as the Capitals have won Game 1. Game 2 will be played right here at the Capitol Center tomorrow night. Game 3 and 4. Game 3 on, of course, Saturday. Now Gilly's coming over to say something to one of the Capitals there.
He's taking the long road home, isn't he? His door's over on the other side of the ice. He keeps curving around and hanging around the Capitals. He's telling them, look out for tomorrow night, guys. We're not going to die. We're not going to shrivel up and disappear. We are the New York Islanders. This is an organization full of pride, winning tradition that has been established in New York. So, you know, a guy like Clark Gillies isn't going to just turn into a shrinking violet and disappear.
Well, Hogarth apparently has things pretty much under control. The only goal in the third period, Bill Clement, was led by Dave Christian, the big insurance goal. Despite the Islanders out shooting Washington heavily, the Capitals come up with a win.
And a big win, too. In these short series we mentioned during the game, best of 5. So this means that the Washington Capitals now have to win 2 of the next 4. And that's a pretty good situation for them to be in. Final score here from Washington was the Capitals 3, the Islanders 1.
And we'll be right back here to Landover right after this message.